My name is Lex, and this week on Spidey Signals, me, my co-host Alex, and special guest Sperm Phoenix discuss Mark Webb's The Amazing Spider-Man 2, the hard-working electric eels of New York City, and whether or not this is the worst movie we've ever seen. Get ready for the greatest battle to begin, because it's time for Spidey Signals. Welcome back to Spidey Signals, the podcast where two guys with the same name talk about Spider-Man movies. I'm Lex.
I'm Alex.
Last week, we talked about The Amazing Spider-Man the First. I think we can both agree that that was a not good movie.
I almost said the one and only, and I really, really wish it was.
I really wish it was. But yeah, I'm going to get all the pretenses out of the way. We have a special guest on this week, our first guest. We're really backloading all of our guests in this first season. We didn't have any in the first half, and now we're going to have like 3 in this back half.
Guess what?
Yeah, he's
What the hell? Nobody told me about this.
yeah, we're gonna have 2 more guests after that.
I'm a guest.
You're the introductory guest.
We have another guest on next week. In fact,
Well, at least I can introduce the concept to you guys.
at least, yeah, he's a video editor man, producer guy. What would you call yourself, Matt?
You know, my mind flashed to content creator, but then I thought that sounds so clinical.
Influencer.
I was gonna say, do you want to use the 2020 word, the content creator?
I'm just a regular person on the internet.
To make a funny thing every once in a while. But yeah, he's my friend Matt Sperm Phoenix.
I am Matt Aka Phoenix. You can refer to me as such. Yeah, Aka.
That's great. I like that. But yeah, this week we watched The Amazing Spider-Man 2. So I had to call in backup because I'm not emotionally prepared for this at all.
I'm slightly more emotionally prepared.
This is the one and only live-action Spider-Man movie I have never seen. So we felt it appropriate to, rather than just have an episode of Lex going, "Wow, I remember how bad this movie is," and me just going, "Wow, this movie's so bad and new to me." We thought we'd freshen things up with a third voice.
Let's get a third person in here. Let's just start. This movie was released on May 2nd, 2014. It is once again directed by Mark Webb. Written by Alex Kurtzman, Roberto Orsi, and Jeff Pinkner. Kurtzman and Orsi, you might recognize those names. They wrote the first 2 Transformers movies and the first 2 J.J. Abrams Star Trek movies.
I remember when I read the name Orsi in the credits, like for some reason my brain popped up a little like angry Mike Staklasa face, and I was like, why do I know that name? And now it all clicked once I did my research after.
Jesus.
It really does. There's like a period of time between like 2007 and like 2015 where those 2 writers in specific just like ruled cinema for a while, and it was kind of intolerable.
I don't know why, because like all of these movies vary from okay to awful.
But if you like watch all those movies, you get like a sense of like what audiences or what the studios thought audiences were going for at that time. That's why those 2 guys kept getting hired, just because there's a very noticeable sameness between the Transformers franchise to Star Trek to now their introduction into Spider-Man.
It's nothing but inspirational to me to know that you could write any crap script and then still have your name attached to it and nobody will kill you in your own home.
Yeah, really.
The story is by Kurtzman, Orsi, Pinkner, and James Vanderbilt, returning from the last movie. Yes, James Vanderbilt, the guy who wrote Zodiac for David Fincher.
Wait, really?
Yes.
Good lord. Imagine having those 2 credits on your resume. Zodiac, Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah. Our cast is Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker / Spider-Man, Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy, Dane DeHaan as Harry Osborn / the Green Goblin. Jamie Foxx as Max Dillon / Electro. Sally Field as Aunt May. And Paul Giamatti, baby. Alexei Tsetsedievich, the Rhino. The music in this movie is a very complicated thing. Most of the score is by Hans Zimmer, but there's parts of it that are by a super group called the Magnificent Six. And this super group is composed of, you're not going to fucking believe me when I tell you the names of these people.
I didn't believe it when I looked it up like the other day when I was researching this.
One note of music in this movie outside of the god-awful Itsy Bitsy Spider part, so hit me.
Pharrell Williams, Mike Eisinger, Junkie XL, the guy who did the Mad Max Fury Road soundtrack.
Oh my god.
Steve Marazzo, Andrew Kaczynski, and Alex, do you remember in the Raimi movies when we made jokes about Peter listening to the Smiths?
Oh my god.
Johnny Marr from the Smiths is in this group.
Holy
Johnny fucking Marr from the Smiths.
I can't imagine sitting down at the table with Junkie XL, Pharrell, and fucking half of the Smiths that isn't Morrissey. And
I'm just glad it wasn't Morrissey.
You guys like if Morrissey did the score for a Spider-Man movie, I'd be the first in line just to see how bad it is.
Just to see what the fuck it is.
On the off chance one of the songs happens to be good. This is an official Fuck Morrissey podcast, by the way.
Fuck you, Morrissey. Me and my boys hate Morrissey.
I cannot fucking wait till Morrissey dies.
I cannot wait.
Season 2, we hate Morrissey.
This movie had a budget of $293 million and a box office of $709 million. So out of the movies we've covered, it is once again the lowest grossing of them all.
Well, people seemed to like that Spider-Man, but not so much, it seems anymore.
I don't know. This is where we would talk about facts or personal experiences. Well, we already talked about the facts. This is where we would talk about personal experiences. But Alex, I know this is your first time watching this movie, so you don't really have a personal experience.
My personal experience is I completely legally streamed this movie last night on my laptop, and I watched it, and then I went to bed. Lex, what are your personal experiences with The Amazing Spider-Man 2?
I first watched this movie this year. I watched it back in February, and I did not like it. I did not have fun with it. I don't know why I watched it. I knew it was going to be bad, but I guess I felt the siren's call, and I just felt the need to dash myself onto the rocks and watch this movie. Yeah. Phoenix, do you have any experiences with this movie in the past?
I do. I did see this in theaters when it came out. Oh my
god.
Wow.
Yeah.
The true soldier among us.
I know it. It was during a time in my life where I was working at like a really shitty retail job. So, and it was kind of like a weird schedule where I'd have to work like 5 hours a day, like every day. So I was like just constantly working, but then the 5-hour shift would like shift between like morning, night, and I would never get a break. So that was a period of my life where I was going to the movies to just get a break from all of that. I didn't care what I saw. So I went to see Amazing Spider-Man 2 in theaters. And I will say in theaters, it's a little more tolerable just because you have the cinematic experience of like, you know, you're there in the theater, you have a very good surround sound system. It doesn't suck as much as a home viewing experience. It's still the flaws are very apparent in the product, without a doubt. I will go into detail when we get there. In rewatching this movie for this episode, I watched it twice. I actually
Why?
Because I try to be an information sponge when it comes to this type of, you know, dissection. I didn't want to go into this half-assed, and I wrote like a couple of pages of notes.
That's every episode, buddy.
I did bite the bullet. I did buy this movie off of YouTube.
I almost rented it, but I would not have been able to sleep
for $12.99, just so I could see it in HD and everything. I'm usually a physical media only guy because
Mm.
of the like temporaneous sort of situation involving digital media,
Yeah,
how
the
some stuff could
legality
like
that comes
disappear
with it.
tomorrow. This was one situation where I was just like, I paid $12 for this movie, but like if it disappeared from my queue tomorrow, I wouldn't be too upset.
Yeah, I think when I watched it when I watched it the first time, I rented it on Amazon, and then the second time I was like, "Fuck it," and I just torrented it.
Oh, there you go.
I'm just like, I don't fucking give a shit.
It's funny you mentioned the idea of the streaming problem versus the physical media problem. I put this on the living room TV yesterday, and I watched it with my mother, and my sister was there for about half of it. My mom was just popping in. Hey, you want to watch Spider-Man together? So it was fun. It's nice to watch the worst movie ever with my mom. But at the very beginning, the quality, I would say the quality was between somewhere between 400 and 720p for some reason. It was like a DVD rip what I was watching, or worse. And with the beginning and everything, with like the flashback beginning that we'll get to, my mom says,
Yes.
"Is this supposed to be like the 70s, or is the quality just bad?" And I was like, "Oh no, the quality is just bad. It's filmed funny, and it's maybe the 90s." And she goes, "Oh."
It does feel like even in HD, this movie does feel like if it came out like 10 years earlier in that like 20th Century Fox Marvel like era
Oh
where they
yeah,
were just
yeah,
releasing
yeah.
Daredevil and X2, I feel like it would have fit in pretty snugly among
this
those.
Spider-Man should have met that Daredevil.
These movies cannot escape the shadow of the Raimi trilogy, and so
They
they're
really
stuck
can't.
in that sort of weird early 2000s mindset of being hip and cool and edgy. But it just is bad.
It's so not campy, it loops around to being campy again.
It does feel
Yes.
like these two movies, Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, do feel like they were created in direct response
In
to
spite
people
of
saying the Raimi films were like too campy.
Yes.
You can really tell.
this,
I
Peter
I,
has
I,
a
I
cult
I
following.
firmly believe that Sony as a film company have to be forced into making a good Spider-Man movie.
Mhm.
Like the first movie, it's like this is the first Spider-Man movie. Don't fuck this up. And then the sequel is the first one was received really well. Don't fuck this up. And the third one, they just got complacent. And then in this one, they're just like, fuck it. We got all this money. Fuck, I don't care. And they fucked up again and sold it to Marvel because that's what they should have done.
Next week we talk about the business decisions that should have
We
been.
talk about the business decisions and we talk about Civil War. We get to talk about a good movie.
We're gonna do a whole lot of cocaine. We're gonna wear suits. It's gonna be a whole thing.
It's gonna be great. Anyway,
Before we stray too far, I did want to say I had a very minimal personal experience. I had something really funny occur to me while I was saying that. I wanted to get it out before I forgot. You remember how I mentioned the first Amazing Spider-Man? I saw it in the movie theater with a girl that didn't like me back.
mm-hmm.
This movie, when I was thinking about the time frame of when it came out, you said May 2014.
Yes.
That month, I graduated high school and met my long distance girlfriend for the first time, and we're now engaged and have been together 7.5 years. So,
Nice.
and the time it took them to go from Amazing 1 to Amazing 2, I found love and changed my life.
Well, you know what,
you go.
dudes rock.
Love blooms on the battlefield of Spider-Man.
So I was too busy that month meeting my girlfriend to go see Spider-Man.
Go see it.
To go see the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Hey, babe, you want to go on our first movie date? Yeah, what do you want to see? The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
She dumps your ass immediately. All right. We're getting a little crazy here. Alex, do you want to take us through the plot of this movie?
Before we discuss plot, I did want to preface our plot discussion with this really quick. Normally, I do adhere. We don't have like a book of rules here at Spidey Signals per se, but I typically do the same thing every week. I watch the movie with a notebook in my hand, and because I've seen Raimi 1, 2, and 3, and a few of the others more than enough times to know the plot, it's easy to write down and look up. This week, however, I stayed sober watching this movie. I fought the urge to inebriate myself and go, okay, let's get through this. I wanted to remember the plot to be able to discuss it, and B, I took no physical notes. I have a handful of bullet points I have here, as well as a plot synopsis somebody else wrote of the movie, but I didn't want to plagiarize and just go, oh yeah, I did that. I wrote that this week. So I will be using another synopsis here, but I have watched the movie and I do have a lot of original things to say about it on top of that. So What's your
totally acceptable.
what's your starting movie anecdote, Matt?
Just in regards to the opening shot of The Amazing Spider-Man 2, I mean, you go through like the opening, studio shots, Columbia Pictures and Sony and everything.
Of course.
And then the first shot of the movie is you're zooming out of Richard Parker's watch. So it starts off and it fades in and it's just a bunch of gears turning. And you're zooming out of that to the wide shot of the watch. My very first thought upon seeing it before the watch came on screen was, is this produced by Lionsgate?
Oh my fucking god, I was just thinking that.
Did Lionsgate produce this? What the hell?
Somehow we all collectively
Such a weird way to start the movie.
Wait, I know Disney bought it from Sony, but where does Lionsgate factor in? When did they have a stake in this? I just
half expected there to be like a Weinstein Company logo and just me like going, oh no, not them.
Oh no.
God damn it.
Harvey,
you did it again.
Yeah, I diddled it again.
You ruined Spider-Man. We're adding another year to your sentence for The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
All right. How does this movie start?
This movie starts with a shot of Richard Parker's watch, as a matter of fact, and we do zoom out. We see some typing on a keyboard, which is always an exciting thing to see a science man doing,
The beginning of a Spider-Man movie.
Files are getting deleted. A bunch of spiders in research tubes are killed, like in a group with poison gas.
Gassed.
Which we all know when gas is introduced in these movies, it's always a good time.
Of course.
Well, not necessarily, I guess, because this Norman Osborn sucks. Anyway, we realize we're looking at Richard Parker, who we saw for 3 minutes and heard about for 2 hours in the last movie. His computer access gets cut off, and he can't complete his mission to destroy these like super important project files. I always forget that Beth Davids plays his wife in this. I've seen her in very little. And I saw her in this, and I was like, "Oh, okay. Now Peter Parker has a mom, and she's in Beth Davids." Whatever.
I did when I was sitting there because I didn't rewatch Amazing Spider-Man 1 recently, so I was completely blind on that for a while. But in rewatching Amazing Spider-Man 2, I was just like, "Where do I recognize his dad from?" And I just realized, watching it, when he was younger, he was in a movie like the year I was born called Singles, which is about like grunge in Seattle. It was like a precursor to like the sitcom Friends.
God.
So it's just a romantic comedy set in Seattle, and he's like one of the main like male leads in that.
Yeah, and he's the son of George C. Scott, which I found out when I posted a fucking meme on Twitter.
The scene
Hardcore. I saw that thread. That was fucking hilarious.
Oh my god. Yeah, I posted it on my Twitter. I posted a video of there's a scene in Hardcore, which is a movie with George C. Scott, where he's like watching a movie and he's like, turn it off. And I thought it was funny, so I just posted it on my Twitter. And then Phoenix shows up and he's like, did you know that guy is the father of the guy who plays Peter's dad? I'm like, what the fuck?
Crazy.
It's awful.
Peter's dad, who, as we know from the first movie, is the most important character in all of Spider-Man.
Yeah, that bugs me.
For some reason.
They
Richard,
fuck it up here.
He dashes home from the Oscorp building. He finds Peter and his wife, and at a point he begins recording a webcam message. And like again, this is supposed to be like early 2000s. This guy had a webcam. Woo wee! Oscorp really had the funds. Goes on about how people will say he's a monster for what he's done with his work. He hears Peter calling for him, and this movie sucks. I always like to see alternate takes of a scene we've already seen, so I know that even when scenes suck, I like continuity. They both suck.
It's called back to the beginning of the first movie.
Yeah, it ties in. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the same like soundbite of Peter like calling out for him. It should be anyway. If this was a good movie. We get that same scene of the house having been ransacked, Richard's office in shambles and stuff, someone looking for the files that he has in his stupid little like smoke shop hidden door drawer.
I will say it was funny to me watching that scene, the fact that when Richard Parker, I'm just gonna start calling Dick Parker just because it's funnier that way.
Dick Parker.
He did park it at least once.
When he bursts into his office and he sees like the windows open and the place ransacked and Peter just standing there. I mean, the fact that the intruders didn't like bother Peter at all, like it makes sense narratively because that's going to be our lead here in like a few minutes. But just the fact, just thinking of the intruders coming in, like searching through shelves and everything, and just like, you stay there, kid. Go in the corner. Turn your back.
That scene happens in the first movie, and Peter walks in after the office has already been ransacked, and that's why he calls his dad up.
Oh, okay.
This is just a recap of what happens in the first movie.
I love the idea of them just handing him a Game Boy and being like, "Here, kid, shut up a minute."
Yeah, go turn away. Go play Pokemon. We got this.
Go watch some Japanese animes or something, kid.
Whatever.
So where was I? Yeah, the office gets ransacked. Scenes we've already seen before. We get the goodbye again. Richard tells Peter to be good, and then the door closes. And this really affects Peter because his father is so cool and important, and we know so much about him. So they get Richard and Mary get on this private jet, and to give this movie another shred of credit, when they introduced the idea of Peter's parents mysteriously being dead in the first movie, that leaves a thread in my brain open, like, maybe they could be alive, and that's a stupid thing they're going to pull out of their hat at some point. No, they kill these guys the fuck off. They did, in fact, die in a mysterious plane crash.
I think there's a deleted scene at the end of this movie where Peter's dad just shows up, and he's, like, alive. And he's like, son, I'm here! I'm like, what the fuck?
Oh my god. Yeah, I read quite a bit about the deleted scenes of this movie. That'll be fun.
There's lots of deleted scenes in this movie.
There should have been a lot
I didn't
more.
touch that at all in researching. I will say one more thing. I'm sorry if you're getting to it or whatever.
No, go right ahead.
But just the fact that in conversation on the plane, like Richard and Mary are like talking, and Mary's kind of like fraught like with nerves, and Richard's trying to like reassure her, you know, like, we did the only thing we could do, and he says something along the lines of, you know, we're gonna spend every day of our lives looking over our shoulders. We will never be safe again. We can't put Peter in that world. We can't do that to him. I just happen to think, like, why did they have Peter in the first place then?
Yeah, exactly.
I guess maybe they didn't expect things to go so south at Oscorp. I don't know. But more importantly, Dick Parker is using a Sony laptop. It's very important that we know that.
Yeah.
Was his watch a Sony?
I wouldn't be surprised if there was like a whole lot of product placement that we just never noticed when watching this movie.
I did keep a running tally of all the Sony products I found.
Oh yeah, I really should start doing that at some point.
Yes, I think I found 2 phones and 4 laptops.
God damn. All right. So Mary Parker mentions that she has found somewhere safe for them. And Richard begins uploading project files from his laptop to this mysterious Roosevelt. Is that right?
Yes.
He attempts to like reassure her. You know, they talk about that over the shoulder thing. I think he pretty much somehow recapped that word for word. That's really funny. Richard is, you know, super weird about Peter, you know, being roped into this, and he's like, we always have to be careful. Now go to the bathroom really quick. And she goes to the bathroom.
Take a shit. I'll be right here.
Clean yourself up.
One of the flight crew walks out of the cockpit and washes a lot of blood off his hands and acts like it's
he like very conspicuously washes blood off his hands. He's like,
I'm just a guy. I'm just some dude. What's up?
It's very obviously in Richard's line of sight, and he's just like, he never at any point is just like, don't worry, it's tomato sauce.
They bullshit.
I was eating a meatball marinara in the cockpit. Don't worry about me.
I had a sub in the cockpit. Oh.
Eat fresh, right? Subway.
Jared Fogel's in there too.
Oh my god, no!
Oh, no.
This is the second sex offender reference we've made in this episode.
It's the energy I'm bringing. I'm sorry.
So,
not the sex offender energy. I want to make that clear. just the energy, the chaos that I'm inserting into this podcast.
Oh, this episode's gonna be so long.
So the dude, and we're still in the fucking flashback at the beginning of the movie.
God, let's get through this shit.
Yes, absolutely. They bullshit a little bit, and then Mr. Bloodhands pulls a pistol on Richard. Mary comes out of the bathroom. There's a whole scuffle. Mary gets shot.
Horrible shaky cam fight.
Yeah,
It's like
filmed on a
choreographed.
Sony handheld camera, I bet.
Oh my
god. Mary realizes, oh well, Mary's dead. You know, she is dead.
Shot.
A fight ensues, and when Richard finally overcomes the guy by doing a big brain move and shooting the window out, and him getting sucked out, and not accounting for the fact that he could have gotten also sucked out, you know, plot armor, whatever.
Yeah, and the plane is suddenly crashing because the pilot who was murdered decides to lean forward all of a sudden, and the plane is just.
It takes like a 90-degrey dive as soon as the windows break, and I don't know enough about planes to dispute that, but whatever. Once Mr. Dude is sucked out of the window, the upload gets reopened. Richard opens up the laptop and somehow in the early 2000s manages to upload this file where it needs to go. And he has like another minute or so. It feels really weird. It's the beginning of the movie, and there's this weird anticlimactic moment where like, yes, I did it with moments to spare, and he's got like a full minute left, and he just kind of lays there and looks at his wife's
stares
corpse.
at his wife is like, yeah,
stares at his already dead wife.
I love you, dead wife.
We know it runs in the Parker blood to go, wow, this is a thing that's happening, and I'm going to make a speech about it. I'm going to talk even though nobody is here, and I'm speaking directly and only to myself and maybe a corpse. He says nothing. He just looks at the body. He's just like, that's his
really
final thought.
Huh?
That's the dumbass opening of this movie for a plot line that goes nowhere.
Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Amazing Spider-Man 2.
We get some cool music, some cool guy music as Spider-Man falls to Earth like a base jumper.
I do like the opening of this movie where they have the back logo and then it transitions into that. That's cool.
On the heels of his parents' fiery death falling to Earth, he's like, "Hey, it's me. I'm falling to Earth too. I'm cool."
It really is like a sharp tonal shift.
There is some decent like web slinging as he flies around the city, does some Spider-Man shit. He's
got a new costume that we're never going to explain.
Yeah, no, we don't even get like, oh, I sat down and drew this. It's just everybody hated my first one because it looked like it was wearing like a suit of human skin.
I like this suit. It's really good.
It's
I
technically
think it's one of the better movie suits.
It's technically the best suit, if you ask me. Just on a level of like comic to screen accuracy and like goofy, but also it works levels. I think it's like mathematically the best suit. It's not my favorite.
I think it's very obviously Sony doing damage control, but it looks good.
Oh, yeah.
The logo is like really long for some reason still. I don't know why they did that.
The back logo is the only thing I don't like.
The back logo is really long. I wish it was a tick. We gotta wait for the next movie for the back logo to be a tick like it should be.
Mm-hmm. And they'll make a fun, cool Marvel quip about how the back looks funny now.
The front logo is like really long. I don't know why they did that. And I wish I like the eyes, but I wish they were maybe a little smaller. I'm not a huge fan of the super huge McFarlane eyes.
Yeah, maybe a little skinnier instead of rounder, where they're up there like that.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but overall, I think out of the movies we watched so far, it's definitely my favorite costume.
Oh yeah, it's. I think my favorite out of all of them is probably the Far From Home suit.
My favorite is the Homecoming suit, but
I do quite enjoy the Amazing 2 suit. It's one of the very few things this movie has going for it.
Yes.
So we get some of that cool web slinging stuff, and we hear a helicopter radio announcing that a plutonium shipment is under siege at Oscorp, which is like was this just like pedestrian radio? Does anybody remember this scene in the movie? Like
CB radio.
Yeah,
it does sound like CB radio. It also like struck me the fact that it's a plutonium theft. At that point, you see like 12 cop cars.
Yeah, there's so many
Rhino.
cop cars at the beginning of this movie.
I feel like in the case of a plutonium theft IRL, that would be like more of like a National Guard, like national emergency.
Also, where the fuck did Oscorp get plutonium from?
Don't worry about it. They struck like a Doc Brown deal with just the Middle East, a vague Middle East nation.
I don't think private companies are allowed to own plutonium.
Oscorp.
I don't think
you know.
is this some kind of like I guess like subtext? Is Sony telling us that they own plutonium?
They're just waving it in our faces subconsciously. anyway, Spider-Man, directs himself towards this to help. We get our America's sweetheart, Paul Giamatti, driving a big ass tow truck, smashing through Manhattan as he steals an Oscorp truck.
Doing the most comical Russian accent you've ever heard in your life.
Only Paul Giamatti could have played this role in this movie. I think it aids to the feeling of like hitting yourself on the head with a hammer. Like exactly what to expect from this point in the movie. It's going to be like this for the next 2 hours.
Yeah.
Some armed assistants are setting explosives to blow the hatch, and then Spider-Man, he shows up. There's a bunch of yellow vials of plutonium, which like is how plutonium is kept, in a big yellow vial. We've all seen it. We've all used it, right?
Yes, of course.
Little piss vials.
We get some banter between Spider-Man and the Rhino. I'm just going to call him the Rhino, even though he's not the Rhino yet.
Spider-Man makes funny jokes instead of stopping this guy when he's careening down the street, ramming cars and flipping people.
Yeah, he's very, very, hey, it's me, Spider-Man, in this movie, and it's a little grating.
Yeah, it's like I like that he quips, but he quips at like the wrong times. It's like really weird.
They got it right a lot in the first one, like with the tiny knives joke. Like, yeah, that
even though he was a fucking villain in that movie.
Yeah, no, that was during his like fucking slasher man phase. Like he was scary.
He's a fucking psychopath.
But still, those kind of things worked. And for some reason in this movie, I want to talk about his performance, just a sidebar note, the super quick note. Watch the first movie and the second movie back to back. He feels like he's doing like a fake New York accent.
I had that written down. He's like doing a comical New York accent.
He sounds like Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker Spider-Man, which is normal and right in the first movie. But now in this movie, he just kind of talks like this once in a while. He kind of just talks like this once in a bit. Hey, Aunt May, what's up?
Hey man, what's going on? It's just me, Peter Parker.
Yeah, like there's the scene where there's the scene where him and Harry are like skipping stones later on. And there's like, I don't know, I got a briefcase from my dad, briefcase full of junk. It's like, what is this voice you're doing?
I don't know if I got a girl.
I don't know, Harry. I don't know where you've been. I don't know where you come from. I'm just sitting here in my $60 peacoat, throwing rocks.
Gabagool,
gabagool, Harry,
gabagool. Tony's pizza, right?
Bizarre choice. They just decided to make him overtly, like, obnoxiously New York in this movie.
I don't know if that's Andrew Garfield's fault, or if that's Mark Webb's fault, or if that's Sony's fault. It's somebody's fault, and they fucked up.
It's got to be somebody involved in production, not necessarily Garfield himself. Which he's got some words out of his time as Spider-Man, but we'll get to that in like a recap or something.
Yeah, we'll talk about that next episode.
We get our introduction to the inept Max Dillon in this movie. Jamie Foxx in a bizarre choice of role for him, if you ask me. I'm a decently big Jamie Foxx fan. I like Django Unchained a lot. I like Baby Driver a lot. I've seen him in other stuff, but I can only picture Max Dillon in my head right now.
I don't know why he's in this. He gets. I've said this before, but all the actors in this movie are good actors who have been established that they can do good things, but they're just given complete garbage to work with.
An Oscar winner.
Absolutely.
I want to say he's also like the first Oscar winner to be in one of these movies.
Yeah, nothing's jumping to mind.
But regardless, just bizarre casting, if you ask me. Jamie Foxx, but he's in it, and
he's in it.
He's stumbling through a crowd with an armful of like cartoon blueprints, like I'm gonna fall over.
I know.
And
has this dude never heard of rubber bands?
No,
Alfred Molina has.
Just slap one rubber band on the whole bundle, and you're good to go.
One of those like leather tubes that like Nicolas Cage uses in National Treasure to hold the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah,
Get like that thing.
No, this man clearly has other priorities and other hangups that are preventing him from buying one.
He's got the world's worst comb over.
Absolutely the worst. We've seen he has a mirror in his home. I
don't know why they made him. Why did they make Max Dillon look like this?
It was really weird. I I would love to
It's
discuss him
concerning.
more once we've established more about the movie. We are so early in this. There's a lot to talk about.
We've been recording this episode for 38 minutes, and we're barely even into this movie.
Where I'm gonna.
There's so much to
There
talk
are
about.
large gaps where essentially nothing happens. Let's
Yeah.
talk about them.
All right.
So he gets his blueprints knocked out of his hands, and they roll into the street. Coincidentally, just as Spider-Man and barrels around the corner in this truck with the soon-to-be Rhino, the future Rhino here. Spider-Man leaps to the rescue and prevents Max from being killed by this cab. Hands him the plans back, notes he works at Oscorp, and they have a little back and forth moment where Spider-Man's like, "Hey, you my eyes and ears out here, man. You're my
Tony, give me some of the gabagool."
Tony.
It's so weird, this accent out of nowhere, and then he flips away and goes away, and Electro's like in hate love with him now. He's, wow, Spider-Man, talk to me. Spider-Man's my best friend. I love Spider-Man so much. I'm gonna have weird conversations with myself as Spider-Man now. See you later, Spider-Man.
It's a very weird direction they took with this character. I have to assume it was the studio's fault, this characterization, but they made him like so like mentally unhinged to the point where it's like very concerning. Like especially me, just like full disclosure, being an autistic person and seeing, depictions of mental illness in fiction, it's like right on the cusp of like just being like really tasteless.
Yeah, it's
I don't know what.
It's really
so
funny.
weird.
This is almost a mirror of the conversation we had last week about me remarking on that scene with like Reese Ifans or however you say his name.
Right,
As the lizard, as a disabled person myself, finding like a solace in that scene, like, oh wow, that's poignant, that's good, and here being like, oh, here's what we have, here's what we have this time,
and it's confirmed that in the next Spider-Man movie that Jamie Foxx is going to come back as Electro, and I think they're going to do. I don't want to talk about too much about speculation. I'm going to save that for a later episode.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to do the same thing that they did with J.K. Simmons, where they're just going to have him play a different version of the same character.
Precisely.
And I'm all down for that because this version of Electro sucks shit.
I would love to see him do
I want a redemption arc for Jamie Foxx Electro.
It's not often you get a second attempt to like right or wrong like that's been committed to film.
Exactly.
There you go.
So we get back to the Rhino, who is clearly like completely ignorant of the dangers of plutonium, and slamming through cars, tossing it to his goons. We get every cop car in New York crashing into this truck.
So funny.
Lots of automatic gunfire right next to a hoard of plutonium.
It's very Saturday morning cartoony, and it's kind of fun, but it is dumb.
It's super dumb. But what could be dumber than that? Some web strands shoot from above and yank the goons and suspend them over the cops, like directly over them. The Rhino takes this as his chance to escape. We've got vials of the shit bouncing everywhere, and Spider-Man does some cool CGI twisting and juggling and swinging to get everything before it can hit the ground. Recovers the last vial. Luckily, there's no explosion. There's not a nuclear crater in New York. Granted, this was only 10 years after 9/11, so like this could have been the next big thing. A Spider-Man cast a plutonium bomb downtown and killed 500 people.
Jesus.
Well, this is also weird. We're just mere like months away at this point. Like at this point, when this movie came out, Man of Steel was already out.
Oh yeah,
and then Batman v Superman was
I've got some fun trivia about how gritty this movie almost was, but we'll get there maybe in 5 or 6 hours.
The edge is seeping in
very
to,
much
the Spider-Man universe.
It was rough in the last movie.
I will go out on a limb and say this is the edgiest Spider-Man movie.
Maybe.
So when Peter recovers the last vial, his phone starts going off. Gwen Stacy is at their high school graduation, waiting for him. She's about to give the valedictorian speech. I thought it was interesting to make Gwen valedictorian over Peter. I'm not precisely sure if that's ever happened in the comics or anything, but interesting take.
Gwen really shows up in college for Peter, and at least in the original Ditko run. But yeah, I like that. I'm fine with it.
Yeah,
I like the idea of Gwen being slightly smarter than Peter. I think it's
I
fun.
like to imagine that Peter has like a
I'm not mad at that at
Peter
all.
has like a 3.9 repeating GPA because Spider-Man shit has crept into his life. just gently unseated him.
You're never gonna get to Harvard now, Parker.
Or Oxford.
Or Oxford, Jesus.
Ivy League has escaped your grasp yet again, Parker.
Peter, he has a quick conversation with Gwen and then like hallucinates that he sees Captain Stacy's ghost or
The ghost of Dennis Leary.
his
Those moments
making
are
a-
so.
a disapproving ghost face.
Also, Peter has a Sony phone.
because
Peter has a Sony phone.
He sure the hell does. What else would he have?
There you go.
Google Pixel? I don't think so.
I think those existed.
Google something. Sony Walkman. Who knows?
A Samsung, whatever the fuck.
Gwen is, of course, called up to give the valedictory speech. Peter's not there. Cut back to the truck chase. This happens quite a bit, back and forth, speech and chase, until it sort of just ends. Peter stops the truck, and we get a fun little slow motion shot as he leaps over a bus and saves a couple pedestrians. While poignant Spider-Man narration happens over it from Gwen. Gotta have action sequences in this movie where someone is saying something important, something slow,
Yes.
something repetitive and staccato.
I do think, like, and this will definitely come back like near the end of this discussion, but Gwen's speeches, all of her dialogue in this movie seems very pointed at like, y'all know what's about to happen to me.
Yeah.
Right?
I wonder what's gonna happen to you.
we must take life, one day at a time. We only have one life left to live, and this is the life we need because death can come for us at any time. I'm Gwen Stacy. This will never come back into focus.
And then at the finale, she's wearing like the exact costume she wears in the issue where she dies, and
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I wonder what's gonna happen to you.
It's very.
Spider-Man shows up at graduation. Finally, he just manages to remove his mask in time. Stan Lee could have compromised his identity. He didn't raise too much of a fuss, but he could have been like, "Hey, everybody, look at that guy's Spider-Man. I definitely saw him. He's absolutely Spider-Man."
That's because Stan Lee is a cool guy.
Yeah,
He would never do that.
I'll never tell anyone Spider-Man.
Stan Lee doesn't snitch.
He just loudly yells at him. I'll never
I would
tell
on my son.
We get graduation. Aunt May takes pictures of Peter before sending him off over to Gwen. It's interesting to me they chose a movie, like 1.1 movie in this duology, to have him graduate when Peter graduates high school, like 30 minutes into Spider-Man 1, the Raimi.
I feel like both of these sets of movies, the Raimi movies and these movies, just have Peter really rush through high school really quickly.
Yeah.
It's just like, get him out, go. When you can tell interesting stories in high school.
Absolutely. I'm glad the MCU has.
I'm glad that they focus on that, and they're gonna presumably they're gonna do another set of movies where he's in college, and that'll be fun too.
Oh, absolutely. A lot of opportunity for
a lot of opportunities that they're taking advantage of.
Peter and Gwen, Gwen invites Peter, and Peter accepts to go on a date for dim sum at 8:00. Peter has another hallucination of Captain Stacy standing with his family, and hears his voice in his head. I believe we get a first movie like licensed footage cut at that point. Don't date my daughter, Spider-Man. You stay the fuck away from my daughter.
Peter makes like the weirdest face when he sees the ghost of Dennis Leary. He's like, oh.
He looks like he smelled the dankest fart.
He looks like he's really pissed off at the cameraman, and he's just like, what the fuck did you just do?
If you were like completely unaware of the comics and your only basis of this character was Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, you must think that Peter Parker is known for just making the weirdest fucking faces ever when he's distressed.
He's making such a weird. It's so funny.
Like, look, there's ugly criers. Maybe there's pretty criers. I've never seen a pretty cry, but Peter Parker in the movies, just if something happens to him, he just starts making like Animorphs faces, like he's turning into something and it hurts him.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna avoid Gwen now." He just remembers that's what he promised Gwen's dad to do.
I just remembered that really traumatic thing.
Oh yeah.
The ghost of Dennis Leary showed up and said, "Hey, asshole, don't date my daughter."
I'll burn the
fuck
house
her.
down. I'm a firefighter. Fuck you. Gabagool. That evening, Peter shows up to
Rescue me on FX. Watch it now.
Peter goes to get some gabagool with Gwen and her family, but he won't actually enter the restaurant, which is like, I have anxiety. I know how anxiety works. You don't go 90% of the way to the date and stand outside the door until someone looks at you and then go, "Ooh." You just don't go, is how that works. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, Peter.
It's a scene where you can really tell that the 500 Days of Summer guy
Absolutely.
directed it.
That is very, very accurate, to say the least. This is another rom-com, this movie.
Yeah.
Peter's
500 Days of Summer guy directed this.
There you go.
Gwen isn't really having any of this. She's having a very normal human reaction to this and being like, "Huh, you're really bizarre and you can't handle this." And Gwen breaks up with Peter.
Yeah, Gwen has some nice lines in this, but Peter is making like a weird pouty face the whole time. It's like,
interesting. Another back-to-back series of Spider-Man movies where his girlfriend and him can't communicate.
oh my god.
Really, really happy to see my boy thriving and healthy and communicating in these.
I promise there will be good romances in these movies. You just gotta wait a little bit longer.
Just need growth. You just need to spend 5 more minutes in high school is what you need to do. Anyway,
you need competent writers. Competent writers.
We get another the next day, another segment of city patrolling from Spider-Man. A lot of falling, a lot of weird angles, a lot of CGI, but you know,
This is my favorite scene in the movie. This is the one good scene in this movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do have to agree.
I've said before in the Spider-Man 1 episode, I like montages where Spider-Man just does stuff, and this is a montage of Spider-Man just doing stuff. It's really fun.
It's really easy to lose that friendly neighborhood feeling in these movies.
Yes.
The stakes get so high sometimes, especially when he goes in the future, especially when he like goes to fucking alien planets and fights Thanos. It's really hard to see that and then remember, oh, this is the same guy that saved that guy from the flaming bodega. You know what I mean? Like, but we get a wonderful, wonderful scene where there's some bullies kicking the shit out of some kid's science project in an alleyway, and Spider-Man wordlessly shows up and scares off the mob of bullies, which is just fucking amazing. He perks the kid up and webs his shit back together and takes off.
This is gonna be a nitpick. I'm gonna go real dork mode. At the end of this movie, when that kid shows up again and he has the turbine, it's still webbed together.
Yeah.
Even though Peter's webs usually only last about an hour before they dissolve.
Yeah, it's plot webs.
Whatever.
He turned the shooter up really high.
Maximum setting. It's like the goblin bombs in the Raimi movies. They have settings.
Yeah, it's a dice roll. He does a couple other things while he's out and about. He saves some girl. Saves a bodega. Actually, he does that a lot in these movies. And mingles with some other costumes, New Yorkers. And
stalks his girlfriend.
He also stalks his girlfriend. He stalks the shit out of her. P.S. He stalks his girlfriend.
This movie fucking sucks.
Again, this came out very close to Man of Steel. These were the edgy times for our heroes, and in this movie, Spider-Man clings to the side of building and watches his ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, it also like evokes to me. I don't know if either of you have seen this movie, but Superman Returns.
I've not seen that movie.
Where Superman spends like an hour of the movie just like moping, and he's just like, I don't belong in this world. I'm just gonna go fly outside Lois Lane's window and stare.
Absolutely. I really liked that
like
movie as a kid, and I haven't seen it in probably 15 years. I don't imagine it's.
I wouldn't recommend it.
No.
I rewatched it like a couple months ago. Completely forgot Kevin Spacey is Lex Luthor.
Yeah,
the third sexual predator we've referenced in this fucking episode.
There we go.
We've hit it, people. Three of them. We got 3.
Ooh, baby, that's a 3.
That was my first Kevin Spacey movie, actually. Was Superman. Oh, well, you know what?
We always remember
he was in Baby Driver with Jamie Foxx.
And Ansel Elgort, another sexual predator.
Oh god!
Baby, we are 4 for 4.
6 degrees of sex offender.
4 for 4.
This is gonna come out tomorrow,
God.
and breaking news is gonna come out about Andrew Garfield, and we're gonna have
No, not Andrew.
Oh,
we're gonna have to
it
scrap
could be
the
anyone at this
podcast.
point.
We won't be able to
it
release
could be
this.
anybody. It could be you. It could be me.
Avenge
Like
me!
the body snatchers, but it's the sexual offenders.
Dane DeHaan allegations.
Alleging he's a good actor.
No, God, no. Nobody would ever allege that.
I don't care
Oh,
for Dane
Jesus,
DeHaan,
no,
especially
God,
not
no,
in this
no,
movie. But we'll get
no.
to that. We'll get
Get
to
to
that.
that.
That should be
Dane
the
DeHaan?
fucking
No.
That's the catchphrase of this goddamn podcast. We'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
We always have something to talk about 15 minutes from now. Anyway, we cut back. We get a quick scene with Aunt May. She doesn't really do anything in this movie. She cries at one point. They have a talk.
No.
Aunt May's nothing in this movie. I don't have any feelings for Aunt May in this movie. It's always sweet to see Peter interact with Aunt May, but like they did her dirty in this movie. There's no Ben, so they were like, okay, there doesn't really need to be any May either.
It does feel like her entire purpose in these two movies, like Sally Field in these two movies, is just to mourn Uncle Ben.
Yeah, and
that's really
May
it.
is such a. You could do lots of stuff with May. Have her be a really interesting character. They have her bicker with Peter a lot, which I don't like.
Yeah, they don't know how to use her.
Yeah,
it's really as simple as that. We cut to Max Dillon again, who he's like I mentioned, he's lost his goddamn mind. He's engaging like meticulously in this fantasy he's crafted with this Spider-Man persona part of himself he's talking to. Max is part of the team that's developing the new Oscorp power grid system. He apparently did like the brunt of the work on it. He shares an elevator with Gwen at one point, who they share a quick little Spider-Man story together. A lot of attempted like introduction character stuff, but it feels very, very thin. It feels very how do I want to phrase this? Like when we got the scenes that like introduced Alfred Molina's character to us, like Otto before he was Doc Ock, we didn't see a lot, but we saw enough of him like in his own home, in his element, to get a feel for who he was. We definitely get a feel. We get a feel for Max Dillon, but the feel is, oh, he's a crazy guy. Otto Octavius was a lot more than a smart guy. He engaged with Peter about like science and interests and romance. Talked about their colleagues. They had like a rapport. Max Dillon just feels like crazy guy in a movie.
Yeah, these movies exist.
Okay,
these movies exist to make the movies that came before and the movies that come after look really good by comparison.
He feels like he feels like a not memorable SNL character in this movie. Does that make sense?
Wow, that's
like somebody
deep
like
this right there.
You remember some SNL characters. I don't even fucking watch SNL, but I know who like David S. Pumpkins is. I know cultural osmosis. Jamie Foxx in this movie feels like a character was on Weekend Update once and they never brought back.
I was just gonna point out because I couldn't remember if it took place before the scene with Gwen in the elevator or after. But there's the scene with Max and BJ Novak's character.
Yes.
He's only in that.
Yes,
Smythe, Spencer Smythe.
Oh, there you go.
The fucking guy who makes the Spider Slayer, which is Sony trying to make a series of movies. I don't know. They're just trying to introduce random Spider-Man characters. Felicia Hardy is in this movie. It's like, oh yeah, throw him in there. Get him all in there.
Ben Urso. But there's just that one scene with him and BJ Novak where BJ Novak says like some little offhand like quip about Spider-Man, and then Max Dillon fantasizes like holding him up to like a wall, like, don't you ever say anything bad about Spider-Man. Which is when I'm watching it, that's the funniest scene in the movie.
That's so fucking funny.
Those kind of things are
really genuinely funny.
I suppose. Who doesn't love the idea of throttling their boss? This came out in 2020, 5 years before Alex manslaughtered his boss. That please don't happen. So we have that scene you mentioned, of course. Gwen appreciates his fascination. She's nice to him, but just fucking walks away after long enough when she gets to her stop. We get our introduction of the Osborns very shortly after this. and goddamn, guys.
We gotta jam Norman and Harry Osborn in this movie because
it really does feel like they just like shoehorn like quick Osborns. They've always been there in the background. Don't worry about it.
Because there's like a vague reference to Norman Osborn on like a billboard in the first movie, but he like does not show up anywhere, and they don't. This happens later, but like Peter and Harry talk about like, oh, we're such good friends, and like they never even mention him in the first movie. It's like complete. They're like retroactive, like they're retconning everything. It's like, oh yeah, remember we're such good friends. Ah, yeah.
It's just textbook bad writing, is all it is.
It's so awful.
So, if I'm not mistaken, Dane DeHaan, from what I can tell, is American.
Yes.
He always comes off to me like he's like he's doing an American accent somehow. Which, if I'm not mistaken, Andrew Garfield is English, right?
Yes, Andrew Garfield is an English man.
I feel like Dane DeHaan is such a bad actor, in my opinion. Maybe it's because I've only seen him in bad shit.
I have seen Dane DeHaan in 3 movies, and I've hated him in every single one. I saw him in this movie. I saw him in Place Beyond the Pines. And I saw him in A Cure for Wellness, and he sucked ass in all 3 of those movies.
The only movie I've seen him in besides this was Valerian, which also sucked ass. Luc Besson, 5th pervert of the episode.
Oh my god, no! It can't keep happening!
God, can we get to 10? Can we get to 10 before the episode ends?
I would say that's too lofty a goal, but there's so many options here.
We're not halfway through this movie, and we already have hit 5. It absolutely is possible.
Oh my god!
But yeah, Dane DeHaan. Look, Harry Osborn is literally nobody's favorite character, and James Franco, who may or may not be the 6th that we've brought up. James Franco.
He is.
Okay, all right, number 6. Put him on the board.
There you go.
His Harry Osborn, at least by the time the 3rd movie comes around, he had like a panache to him. He was owning the character. That dumbass little scene where he winks and disappears. He played a character. He might have been a stupid character, but he was a character. Harry in this movie is just, what? You won't give me what I want? Ugh, that sucks. I hate you. What did
I write in my notes? I just wrote, Dane DeHaan is a bad actor. He looks like a little toad boy.
Tobey Maguire is grinning right now because you said
the frog-like features of Dane DeHaan.
The frog-like features. He does look like an Igor. He looks like a straight-up Igor.
He looks like
bad.
He looks like he should be wearing an Adidas tracksuit, is how I feel. But
he has like a white supremacist haircut.
Absolutely, and that tracks for Harry Osborn. Harry Osborn had awful hair. Both the Osborns had awful hair in like the Ditko comics.
Yeah, they had like waves.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Norman Osborn with the do-rag.
I do have a note coming up for when the Green Goblin is introduced that I can't wait to get to.
Oh my god!
Just because I have like a really great quip there, specifically about the hair.
Gotta talk about Norman first.
Absolutely,
I know it.
All we've done so far is say "fuck Dane DeHaan." Dane DeHaan is going and acting awfully. He's going to visit his father, Norman Osborn. You know, Norman Osborn.
One of Spider-Man's most important characters, and he's here for 2 minutes.
He's laying inclined on a bed, and his skin is all discolored, and his hands are all claw-like, and
yeah, he has fucking sharp claws.
He's just like rotting in front of his son.
He has Monster Man disease.
He's passing on his genetic Monster Mash disease. Yes, he's slowly dying in front of his son, and he says, "Son, come here. I want to deride you and call you an idiot and say that I hate you, and then I'm gonna die. Here's a flash drive." And
that's a very Norman thing to do.
It absolutely is. Norman Osborn, he at some level of his character usually has contempt for his son, just outright contempt. But at least this one didn't just turn into an evil ghost that screams "Avenge me!"
Yeah,
he hands his shithead trust fund son a special cube-shaped flash drive and then dies.
Yeah, Norman is like he's an old man. Yeah, when he dies, But he's like, he like points at Harry. He's like, "You're gonna fucking die," and then Harry is like freaking the fuck out. I'm like, "You got like 20, you got like 30, 40 years left, dude. Like, don't fucking worry about it."
He says something like, "Has your hand started shaking yet?" And Harry looks really shaken by that. And it's like, in his head, was he like, do you think he just had like Parkinson's or something? Until, oh, thank God, I don't have Parkinson's. I have goblin disease.
I have Monster Man illness.
Goblin disease.
I'm being goblinized.
I have to take pills 5 times a day to hold my goblin disease and check. I gotta check my blood levels to see if I'm a goblin.
I don't expect forgiveness from you anymore. I don't believe in miracles. How could you possibly understand that your childhood had to be sacrificed for something greater? Not just for me, for you. Has your hand started to twitch yet? When you lay awake and you feel it coming, hiding under your skin, waiting to show itself, to show you who you really are. Retroviral hyperplasia. I never told you that it's genetic. Our disease, the Osborne curse, and it began at your age.
I will say, in watching that scene, Chris Cooper really gets typecast as the shitty dad, doesn't he?
I haven't seen Chris Cooper in a whole lot.
He was a shitty dad in October Sky.
Was he in
Jake
that?
Gyllenhaal
with Mysterio?
Yes,
I watched that in 7th grade science class.
Same.
Oh yeah, he was in that movie. You got to work in the mines, boy. Don't be shooting them rockets into that guy.
Oh, he's in the Little Women movie, the new Little Women that came out.
Oh, all right. I still haven't seen that.
I'm on his Wikipedia page. He was born in my hometown. What the fuck? He was born in Kansas City, Missouri. What the fuck? That's weird.
Okay, he's the Colonel in American Beauty, starring Kevin Spacey.
Another Kevin Spacey reference. We're not adding that to the counter. That's just another Kevin Spacey reference.
Well, it just doubles down.
I'm sure he did it more than once.
What exactly?
Well, we're not adding him to the counter of as another sex offender that we've added to the list.
This is a new segment we're doing every week.
No, my God, no.
God.
Gwen Stacy receives a message about good, exciting news regarding her scholarship. Meanwhile, most of Oscorp is being allowed to leave early to attend a memorial for Norman. But Max is told by his supervisor, Mr. Smythe, to stay behind and check out a problem with the bioelectrical power grid. Above the giant vat of eels.
Yeah, there's just eels. They don't explain what the eels are. There are just eels.
There's just a giant vat of eels.
There's an open vat of eels.
Oscorp standard. Max calls a colleague.
New York City is run with the power of eels
by Oscorp.
I guess.
Somehow, yeah, fucking Oscorp supplies the city's power in this movie.
The entire city's power. All of New York City's power is run by one company.
Very, very unethical.
30 Rockefeller Center. The only reason they have electricity is because of the eels at Oscorp.
The brave eels of Oscorp. Braver than any U.S.
I'd like to retroactively dedicate this podcast episode to the eels of New York City.
And the lizards that died.
And the lizards, the eels and the lizards of New York City.
So, yeah, they fired off a bomb that killed all the lizards at the end of Spider-Man 1, so now the eels are a protected species because it was killing eels, too. See, there's some... The writers didn't think of it.
Don't show Peter these movies. You'll throw a fit.
Oh my God.
I thought you said don't show Peter. I was like, wait, Peter Parker?
Peter's in the movie.
Yes, Jamie Foxx, Max Dillon has to go above this vat of eels, and the system didn't get deactivated because the guy he tried to radio was like, "No, I'm leaving. Bye."
Also his birthday. We have to mention
No-
that because there's going to be a funny line when he becomes Electro in Times Square.
Yeah, a very funny line. It's
Funny,
his
in
birthday, by
quotes.
the way. Stay behind on your birthday and tend to the eels, Max. Max tries to fix the thing. He ends up electrocuting himself and falling, spoiler alert, into the tank of eels. What a shock.
And then he's bit by the eels and turns into an electricity man, and the gap in his teeth is fixed.
Oscorp just loves to fuck with animals all day and imbue them with powers that when they bite you, they, oh, hey, wow, would you look at that?
That does wacky shit.
There was something that occurred to me in rewatching this movie, specifically the scene where the electricity fixes his tooth gap. I know that's been like lambasted for years since the movie came out as just like a poignantly shitty scene. Just like, why would the electricity do that? But then something occurred to me rewatching this movie. And I don't want to jump ahead either. Is the fixing of the gap in his tooth, is that supposed to represent like a circuit closing?
I don't think these people are smart enough to write that in.
I don't think they are, but it also like comes back at the end, like when Spider-Man finally defeats Electro by combining a circuit.
I don't know. I don't think the guys who wrote the first Transformers movie are smart enough to make that joke. I don't know why they focus on his teeth being fixed. It's maybe the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Well, because now it makes him a capital N normal human being. He's fine now.
He's also a blue electricity man.
Yeah, no, don't worry about it.
Why can't they just have Electro be a regular guy in a green and yellow
suit? That's what neurotypical people look like. They're blue and they glow.
That's what happens when you're neurotypical.
That's what happens when you're neurotypical. I will say, you can tell that Sony like pulled a lot of quote unquote inspiration, aka stole a lot of ideas from other kind of better superhero movies at the time.
Yes.
The fact that Electro bears a passing resemblance to Dr. Manhattan.
I thought that.
And at one point he materializes.
Yeah, he materializes like Dr. Manhattan.
He like builds a skeleton and you see kind of like veins and stuff and he like forms in on it. Yeah. I actively thought to myself like, wow, Zack Snyder's going to be
me too. Even as somebody who hasn't seen the Watchmen movie, I'm like, oh yeah, it's like Watchmen.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, no, I actively had that thought as well. Dr. Manhattan, though, would kick Electra's ass. That's a podcast for another day. Meanwhile,
a podcast we're not going to fucking do.
It'd be about 5 seconds long, too. It'd be just me saying that, and bye.
No, I could just make that YouTube video.
Meanwhile, we have a boardroom meeting where Harry is being informed of various Oscorp troubles, and he's acting like a little shit about it, and everyone hates him, and he's like, everybody hates me. They
make fun of the lizard plan.
They do make fun of the lizard plan because it was a really bad, funny plan. He's twirling the flash drive around this whole time. And then he lashes out at the board, for not respecting him, and he's showing his disdain and just whining a lot.
Felicia Hardy is there for some reason,
and he elevates Felicia Hardy, who is there for some reason, to his like second in command when she was like a secretary, right?
Yeah, she was Norman's secretary, played by Felicity Jones, good actor Felicity Jones, who is in this movie because they wanted to make a Black Cat movie,
and then they didn't.
They were going to make an Aunt May secret agent movie.
There's a deleted scene or a bunch of deleted scenes rather, where like it's implied that there's a romantic relationship between Harry and Black Cat, not Black Cat, and they do nothing with it. And she's barely a character. She literally just like is someone who's there and says lines once in a while. She's not like a character.
Her first line is Harry is like you're Norman's secretary, right? And she's like nods her head. She's like, mm-hmm. It's so bad.
Oh boy. Peter Parker
Jones, everyone.
Peter Parker is announced. Raises some eyebrows in the room. Harry steps out and goes and sees Peter.
The loudest whisper on the planet.
They have a
Peter Parker is here.
Oh, They have a very terse conversation at first. Peter says he's there. I'm here because your dad passed away.
Hey, I'm here because your dad.
On the day of your father's funeral, Harry. No, he talks like a fucking gabagool eating fool for a while.
He talks like an extra on The Sopranos.
Yeah, absolutely. It's awkward for a while, but they reconnect after a bit and they laugh. And then they go to they go to the Riverside Park in their male model attire and they skip rocks. Harry seems to be happy to get away from like the Oscorp stuff, and Peter just seems to be happy to have a human being to speak to. They kind of apologize to each other for the distance in their friendship and relationship, which leads to a conversation, like everything in this movie, about why Peter's parents left.
Shut the fuck up about your goddamn parents.
Yeah,
Seriously.
Absolutely.
Who fucking cares?
They really.
I like how it's supposed to be like a mutual apology between the two of them. Like sorry for kind of letting you out of my life for like the longest time. It should have been an apology to the audience. Like, hey, Harry's here. Sorry we didn't introduce
Hey,
you.
yeah, I'm sorry.
We couldn't think of anything better than he's back from boarding school. Sorry.
Why didn't we mention him in the last movie? Fuck, I don't know. That's our bad.
Doesn't matter because Peter's dad.
Because we gotta talk about Peter's dad.
Harry,
guys, we haven't talked about Peter's dad enough. We got
Richard
bring
Parker.
This full circle.
Peter's dad,
Dick Parker.
Dick Parker, briefcase full of junk.
Stares at his wife when a plane's going down. Dick Parker.
Dick Parker.
The one and only. He should be Spider-Man.
The movie should be about him.
It is actually about him.
It is about him in many ways.
Harry,
the amazing Dick Parker.
Harry also learns that Peter has a girlfriend, and after Peter says Gwen's name, he mentions she's an Oscorp employee as well. He makes it really weird. He's like, "Yeah, she works for you." That's like thousands of people work for him, you know. And
like, how would he know?
And he barely does this job. So does anybody work for him? Anyway, a van is monitoring their conversation this whole time.
Yeah, it's the fucking Bourne Identity.
Which conveniently happens. We're shown this as the conversation switches over to the discussion of, well, rather they start discussing the Max Dillon incident in the car, and they're like, we got to make sure that no one ever finds out. They're literally holding recording equipment. They're like, we got to make sure no one ever finds out about that thing that happened. Let's frame Harry and we got to write this off.
Yeah, and Harry and Peter are talking about Spider-Man the Lizard, and it's just like Peter's like, could be a woman. We don't know.
Yeah, God, that felt like they were trying to do like Iron Man humor or something like that. It felt very,
dude.
It felt very Joss Whedon MCU. That line, oh, it could be woman. We don't know. Spider-Man.
Fuck you, Joss Whedon. Another sex pest. Another. That's number 7. God. Number 7.
Told you we're gonna get to 10. It's gonna happen.
Wow.
Was it number 7 or number 6?
That was 7.
That was
7. Number 7.
What the fuck is happening this week?
I think this reflects less on us bringing him up and more reflects on the state of Hollywood that this many assholes work.
These many sex weirdos work in Hollywood.
Sex pests. But
both are valid.
Whatchamacallit, I was gonna bring up when Harry and Peter were talking like by that I
carousel.
Don't know what to call it. Carousel, yeah. And Peter hops over the railing for a second.
That's the question.
That's the question. This is a very like technical just quip or whatever, but you can definitely tell that the only reason he did that, it adds nothing to his characterization. They just did that so that they could get like a pretty good like headshot of like both.
So they can do shot reverse shot.
Yeah,
and like
that makes so much fucking sense. Oh my god.
I don't think they know how to write conversations between teenage boys because every time I ever talked,
totally why they did it.
Every time in high school when I talked to friends about girls, at no point did it sound like fucking call me by your name. Because when Harry asked Peter, "You have a girl?" Peter takes like 1 minute to go, kind of not really, but he goes, "Well, you see, you know." That's complicated. And it really sounds like he's trying to find every way to not say, I'm gay. But what he says, yes, no, I have a girlfriend. I don't know. Shut up. You know what I'm saying?
I'm so ready for people to talk normally in these movies.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, Call Me by Your Name was a Sony Picture Classic, so
oh my god, it was.
So there you go. Spider by Your Man.
Jesus
Christ.
Anyway,
no.
We cut to the lab where Max Dillon's corpse has been stashed. In the midst of electrical interference, Dillon's body is reanimated in a CGI shower of sparks. It's fine. It's Electro, everybody.
I will say, as much as I don't like the Electro, his look or whatever, I did kind of appreciate the fact that he's literally just like bursting out of his own skin, so like his own flesh is like crumbling off of him.
I do like that.
It's like a weird chrysalis or whatever.
I do have a gripe in the sense that I think it's kind of a cop-out that we have two villains in this movie that both are like, oof, ow, I gotta contain myself in this suit real quick. You know what I mean? Because Electro, he puts on this super suit or whatever that Oscorp had developed, right?
Yeah, that happens like way later.
That is later, yeah.
Like way later.
But then
he just puts on regular ass clothes.
Also later, Harry has to do the same thing when he's Goblinized and he has to get an armor, and it's like, okay, we're just gonna have two villains do the same thing. Okay.
Both those costumes look fucking ugly.
Yeah, they look like Fant Four Stick, like gritty.
I know,
cool
just like make the costumes look like they do in the comics. It's not hard.
Well, they did it for Peter and they did it for Gwen, but they're good guys. Bad guys have to be gritty and cool.
Oh my god.
That evening, Peter meets with Gwen in the city. Oh goddamn! I didn't finish talking about the Electro part. My brain wanted to gloss over it. There's very little left to mention. He just kind of like demonstrates his powers a little bit with some like electrical tools and shit, and then he grabs a
wanders
coat
off
and
to
leaves,
Times Square,
which takes us to Peter and Gwen in the city. They briefly make up a bit because that's all these movies ever do is we're gonna break up. Now we're gonna get together. Now we're gonna break up again.
That's what this whole movie is. It's like Peter and Gwen like breaking up and getting back together. It's like I don't fucking care.
They're both manic again, is all it is.
Oh my God. It's Spider-Man 2 all over again. It's just will they, won't they?
It's precisely.
Yep.
But this time you know what's gonna happen because Gwen's gonna fucking die.
Meanwhile,
I don't know. She keeps talking about like why life finds a way and like life is all that we have.
I mean, we don't know what's gonna happen.
Gwen's on about.
We don't know.
Wow, Gwen, I sure do look forward to living the next 60.5 statistically speaking years with you. It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be awesome.
Meanwhile, we have Max Dillon stumbling around in the street, setting off car alarms. Sucks the electricity right out of a car, which is something Electro can do, I guess.
I don't know.
As he looks up, he sees the city ahead of him as this like matrix of electrical energy.
I do like that.
I was absolutely gonna bring that up. I'm the #1 matrix authority on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So when he looks at he can like sense electricity, I guess.
Sure.
So when he looks at the city and sees like the electricity flowing through it, my first note that I put down was just like he can see the code.
He's starting to believe.
He is the one.
He is the blue pill. Actually,
his power cannot be contained.
He is the blue pill.
He's the blue pill.
Back with Pete and Gwen.
More terrible unscripted flirting.
He admits that he's been watching over her, which is quite a way to put it.
Once a day, sometimes more.
It's the closest I can get to being with you.
Oh my fucking god!
Suddenly, Gwen drops the Oxford bomb on Peter. She's one of 2 finalists alongside apparently like a high school freshman super genius who should have gotten it. Maybe then Gwen might have lived. Who knows? Or maybe she should have taken it. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Don't spend any brain power on making
maniac.
Don't spend any brain power on trying to make this movie better because it's not going to happen.
No.
As Peter tries to process this news, his spider sense triggers, of course, and he looks to Times Square, where
he like refuses to be happy for Gwen because he's like so focused on getting his dick wet. He's like, really? You gotta? Both of these movies do not understand Peter Parker as a character.
Definitely.
It's like, come on.
They understand Spider-Man as a character, I think, but it's not until the MCU where we start to get to see, oh, hey, this is actually Peter Parker.
We start to get like synthesis. Like in the Raimi movies, they understand Peter, but Spider-Man's kind of eh. And in these movies, they understand Spider-Man, but not Peter. And then finally, we get synthesis.
This Spider-Man is a hunk. He speaks in a thick New York accent, and he can do a kickflip.
We reach equilibrium.
Max is grabbing a power outlet to well, he's like some kind of conduit. He's like digging into the ground.
He just grabs a cord from the grate under Times Square and starts getting the juice.
The famous Times Square grate. Let's get a picture of a grate, honey. He doesn't appear to have any motivation other than like absorbing energy. And another boy in blue shows up and hey, fucking forget about it. Stop doing that. Don't
stop grabbing electrical cables.
Grabbing those wires.
To which Max like flips a truck over him, like a dump truck or something over him, which summons a fleet of cop cars immediately because that's how these movies always work.
And barriers are suddenly put up, and there are people like watching this fight.
Alrighty, this happens very fast.
Like in real life, if there was a thing like this, cops would be like, "Go away." Get out of here. But like there's this scene and then there's the scene at the very end of the movie where there's like just massive dangerous battles where people could get fucking killed. And the people are just sitting behind barriers watching them like
wow.
It looks like the police like set up the barriers there and they're like charging tickets for people to watch.
It's so weird.
Come see Spider-Man. Everybody come see the Spider-Man.
Hot dog, $5 hot dog.
It's hot dogs, but a Spider-Man fight.
So Max sees himself on all like the TV monitors across Times Square. He's all over the news, and he had remarked to Gwen earlier in the movie, like seeing Spider-Man on TV. He was like, "Wow, imagine that!" And now he's seeing himself in the same position, but as a villain. But it is like the attention he's craved his whole life. That's as deep as this character gets.
Yes.
His emotions
keeps like muttering under his breath, like they see me.
They see me.
They see me. He's pointing at the TV. They see me.
That's me.
You're looking at me.
That's me on the TV.
They see me.
And he becomes
Jamie Foxx.
He becomes
like
evil. He decides to become evil because all the cameras switch to Spider-Man. And he's like, I'm evil now.
His emotions like explode, literally, triggering a wave.
Just occurred to me.
That flips more squad cars.
Electro's motivations in this movie are the same as Ellen DeGeneres' motivations in real life. The camera's not on me. Quick, kill everyone.
Oh my god. Okay. This scene, I have to mention. This is the scene with the worst music I have ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There's like this dubstep beat. And there's like there's vocals in the score of a Spider-Man movie, and they're saying words. It's not like choir. If it goes like,
he lied to me.
He shot at me. He hates me. It's so fucking dumb. It's like, why would you put this in a score of a movie?
He lied to me. He shot at me. He hates me. He's using me. Fragility, electricity. Afraid of me. He's dead to me. He lied to me. He shot at me. He hates me. He's using me. He's dead to me. That's Spider-Man. He is
the person, or at least one of the people who are responsible for that song specifically in the score, is a guy named Alvin Risk, whose name I only recognize because he did a collab with Skrillex the same year this movie came out. A song called "Try It Out."
God, yeah. You remember last episode, Alex, when we were talking about dubstep Spider-Man? This is the dubstep Spider-Man.
It's dubstep Spider-Man. It's the guy who worked with Skrillex to make the song. I'ma try it out. Okay.
Oh, God, I want to put a gun in my mouth. I hate this movie.
Welcome back to 2014.
Yeah, did you miss it? 2014, everybody.
God, the darkest of times.
At first, Max seeing his hero Spider-Man seems to improve his mental state. Spider-Man tries to talk him down a bit and begs the police snipers to lay off, stay out of this. But of course, just like in the first movie, after everyone's like, don't shoot, literally one guy shoots, as always, setting him off.
Police, right?
Am I right?
Spider-Man, the only valid boy in blue. Well, I gotta say RoboCop is valid too. That goes without saying, though.
RoboCop is also valid. We talked about that last episode. RoboCop is valid.
Max's his inner dialogue kind of goes into overdrive when the crowd starts rallying behind Spider-Man.
He's like, "You're so selfish." It's like, what the fuck?
He becomes convinced that he's been betrayed, and he grabs some electrical cables and jacks them into his chest and starts sucking electricity into his body. And it's so goofy.
I've talked about this before, but a lot of the villains in a lot of these movies, even in some of the Raimi movies, have just like a weird motivation problem. Like they don't have clearly set goals that they want to achieve.
No,
it's
not
like,
at all.
I think the only ones I can think of are like Dr. Octopus has a clearly defined goal. Sandman, Venom. That's really it.
Yeah. J. Jonah Jameson.
The Lizard has a clearly defined goal, but even then, it's just kind of he's suddenly evil.
It's a difference between villains not having a clearly defined goal and villains that have a goal, but the goal is stupid.
Yes,
like turning everybody in New York into a lizard,
or making my big son. I want to do it again because my robot arms told me to.
I had a physical proof that my math is wrong, but what if I do it bigger?
No, what if I do it again, but bigger?
Times 2. So at this point, Times Square has gone dark, and Electro sends a blast of power that tears a lot of the block to shreds.
Electro's power cannot be contained.
It absolutely cannot be contained. I went out of my way to find that yesterday.
I wrote that in my notes.
It's
same.
So fucking bad. I love the everybody go check it out. There's an amazing Spider-Man 2 specifically like Tumblr blog.
Yes, it's a Tumblr page.
And it's I don't know who went to marketing college that ended up getting paid to run this blog, but by God was that some easy money.
Oh my God.
Some real stinkers, some real gold nuggets on there. Look it up if Tumblr is still a functioning platform in the year you're listening to this.
I'm going to the blog right now.
Electro sends lightning bolts into the crowd and levitates on electromagnetic force and just does general like whoop-de-doo, I can shoot lightning shit.
The last post on the Amazing Spider-Man Tumblr blog is a news article about Tom Holland and John Watts being cast.
And they were just like, okay, we're just gonna drop this.
It's just a random, unrelated picture of a drawing of Spider-Man, and it's like with Sony Pictures and Marvel Studios find their Spider-Man star and director. It's like, oh well.
They fired that intern and he forgot the password, so now that's
shit
forever. Spider-Man sprays Electro with a fire hose, disrupting his power and sending him plummeting down to the earth.
I like that Spider-Man like fucked off for like a full minute while Electro's destroying the block, only to come back with a fire hose and a fireman's hat.
It's a very New York solution. They like him now, I guess.
It struck me as like very like almost Deadpool in nature.
Yeah.
The fact that he just kind of just went off and just decided to do a funny bit.
Yeah, he put a funny hat on. It's like that just shows me you don't care.
And he pretends like he holds the fire hose like a gun.
People are dying in the street right now, Peter. Electro's power can't be contained. However,
Yeah, didn't you hear, Peter? It can't be contained,
don't
Peter.
You know?
We're running on a time frame, Peter. Come on.
Contrary to popular belief, at this point, Electro's power is contained, and he is.
Good.
He's taken to secret experiment jail. Glancing at his fucked up web shooter, Peter becomes consumed with I'm so sorry. The phrasing of the synopsis I'm using. I gave it a once over cursory glance before we did this episode, but I didn't see this sentence. Glancing at his busted web shooter, Peter becomes consumed with solving the mystery of his parents' disappearance.
Oh, that happens later.
That does happen because he has to figure out how to get his web shooters.
But like, just everything in this movie, fucking everything ties back to
Consumed with the mystery of solving his parents.
me?
Who fucking gives a shit? These movies are awful.
Meanwhile, Harry is sitting in his cavernous office, listening to news coverage and fiddling with the drive his father left him. He feels an itch on his neck and scratches it, and somehow the drive pricks his finger. Is that what happens?
I don't know, but the newscaster calls Spider-Man the web crawler, which is weird.
Yeah. He's the web slinger or the wall crawler, you know? Or
It's not the web crawler.
The wall slinger. The.
Oh my god! Did we skip over the For You scene?
No. That comes here in a moment.
Okay.
Because there's also a montage scene where Peter's like wearing like scuba gear trying to get his webs.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't want to skip the For You scene.
Oh, believe me, buddy. At first, I thought you were talking about like Bane for you, and I was like, "What the fuck
For
are
You?
talking about?" But then I remembered. I groaned so hard. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Oh, okay.
So somehow this flash drive like has a little like stealthy prick finger device in it, and it cuts Harry, and it falls on the desk, and it causes a reaction with the desktop display, and just starts spitting out information about secret battle armor. It's so stupid.
It's just it's not a USB drive. It's just a metal square that he gave him, and he didn't explain how to use it. You just put it on the desk, and suddenly all of it's a computer desk, and that it's a desk that is literally a computer.
Yeah.
So he puts it on, and then suddenly all these like secret files appear and shit.
What if it had just been his dad's like fucked up porn stash or something?
Oh my god! Here, my hentai stash for you, son.
It's art. Avenge me.
It's just one folder, and you open it up. It's just an MP4 of like that video of like a birthday party where Spider-Man's twerking.
It's the two Spider-Man video, like from all the vines with the ass clapping.
Oh
my god.
But yeah, he finds all this secret battle armor bullshit, which like, look, Raimi was fun and all, but like at least he just found it behind a mirror in a goblin cave. He didn't have to have a magic flash drive and drop it on a desk. And
then he finds out that
I hate having to say these words.
And he finds out that like Norman and Peter's dad and Dick Parker were working on spiders so they could like self-heal or whatever. It's fucking stupid.
They had some illicit spider experiments going on before they gassed them. Before Dick gassed him, I guess. Peter is experimenting with ways to electro-proof his electronic web shooters by watching YouTube videos.
I actually kind of like this scene because I like Peter tinkering with his web shooters. I think it's fun. But I don't like the fucking EDM music they play.
Something must happen between movies because he Googles and uses YouTube in this movie.
Oh my god, yeah, because he binged a lot of shit in the last movie.
No, he went out of his way to bing in the first movie, but he absolutely uses Google in this one, which makes me think, like, did the director and Andrew Garfield like see everyone go haha bing and go like, okay, next script.
PS4 came out and Microsoft and Sony wanted to distance themselves from Microsoft.
There you go.
Is this where For You happens, or is that later still?
No, not yet.
Yeah, I think it's after
because
okay, I won't remember exactly when because I was like, I'm already blocking this movie out of my long-term memory.
It's Peter's messing with his web shooters, and then it cuts to like the next day, and he's like up asleep in the rafters, and Harry calls him.
Yeah.
Oh wait. Sorry, I don't mean to jump around so much. I think it's after the Electro fight, then it's the For You scene, then it's Harry, and then he tinkers with his web shooters.
That could be it.
I think that's how it is.
That is the most like generic.
The fact that none of us know for sure says volumes about this movie.
What band even is that? What band even is that?
Philip Phillips.
Fucking.
All right, let's talk about the For You scene right now. Let's just get it out of the way.
All right, let's get it out of the way.
Wherever it is, here it is. It's always weird when you stick an established song in the middle of a movie like this, but like there's so much you could have had, and like
it's not even like a good song.
No, it's like
I would go as far as to say it's one of the worst songs.
It's a horrible song.
It's like it's like a community college local commercial song.
Yeah,
it's not a middle of your Spider-Man movie song.
For context, Peter comes back from the Electro fight, and he's like staring at his busted web shooter. So yeah, it's before he fixes his web shooter. He stares at it, and he's determined to solve the mystery of his parents. And he moves his desk out of the way, puts his earphones in, and he listens to this awful, awful song as he's like making this gigantic thing of like red tape and like trying to connect things to his parents. Yeah, he's trying to like solve the mystery, and it's just the worst song I've ever heard in my life. It's
really bad.
It's truly emblematic of how fucking awful this movie is.
Yeah, at least he's not listening to Smiths.
At least the Smiths are like good.
Oh yeah, the Smiths are great. But in researching this, because I had never even bothered to look into Philip Phillips like before this rewatch or whatever, and I just always thought to myself whenever I saw that name, and I was just like, oh, that's a very stupid name for a band. It's one guy, and that's his real name.
No.
Philip Phillips is a man, an American singer-songwriter and actor who won the 11th season of American Idol.
Oh my God.
So he's an American Idol
That
guy.
answers all my questions, actually.
There you go. Like the photo on his Wikipedia page has Phillips at the Walmart sound check. Just so you know the audience he's trying to cater.
You've made it. Remember when Cheap Trick played live at the Walmart? Whatever. Oh my God. Anyway,
it's Walmart music.
Go out to your local record store and go buy the Amazing Spider-Man 2 soundtrack on CD. I have the Raimi 2 soundtrack, actually. I bought it at a thrift store because it had a Hoobastank song on it, and it made me laugh, so I bought it. Anyway, back to this film. Yes, Harry does indeed call Peter and say, "Hey, I'm dying, and I need your help. Come help me." At Harry's office, he's watching the video of Richard and Norman and all that, and they begin to talk about how the spiders might merge in with human DNA to achieve miraculous cures. And Harry is convinced that Spider-Man, and specifically Spider-Man's blood, will help him find a cure. That'll be the key to success. Which
for some reason he just
freaks Peter the fuck out.
Yeah, he's like, I know Spider-Man was bitten by a spider. How does he know this?
Yeah, he says he outright is like he was bitten by one of our spiders, an Oscorp spider. How do you know that?
How does he know this?
The whole world just assume that, because that's like a weird plot hole to just.
Why does Harry assume that he has self-healing powers?
Yeah. I don't know. It's
a lot of bad.
I mean, Spider-Man does have self-healing powers, but it's not like Wolverine or anything.
Yeah, he doesn't have a dedicated healing factor. He heals a little.
Yeah, he heals a little faster than everybody else does, but like
he can't pop a bullet out of his forehead or anything.
And they do the same thing that I hate, that I've talked about before, that I hate, where because Peter takes pictures of Spider-Man for the Bugle, everyone's like, "Oh, you guys must be friends, right?" Everybody, I fucking hate when they do that.
It's pretty weird. It could work, but people just assume most of the time. Alongside this, meanwhile, Gwen is looking through Oscorp files about Max Dillon, looking for info on him. She thinks that he's the electrical creature that attacked the city. And security agents, watching over this, presiding over this, detect the file access and block it and trace it back to Gwen. We cut again back to Harry and Peter. There's a lot of cut back and forth in this movie. It's edited just as strangely as the first one.
The whole Harry subplot where he's like, "I'm fucking dying." I don't feel anything for Harry because I don't know him. He's been in this movie. Like the scenes with him in it have like made up like 10-15 minutes of this movie.
The problem is less with Harry and more with Peter, because the Peter we have here isn't a strong enough Peter for us to care about this Harry being, "Oh, well, he's just a friend from my childhood. Trust me." We don't have enough trust in this Peter.
Yeah, this fucking dickhead Peter. It's like, I don't give a shit.
Initially, it kind of plays out because we don't know yet what Peter's thought process is. So we know at a certain point he's like thinking, I can't give my blood to Harry because, you know, it could cause like side effects. We don't know
Right.
how my blood will react or whatever. But initially, because he's not saying anything, but he still has this reticence. So it's like Harry's just like, I need Spider-Man's blood to live. And Peter just has this look on his face like, I hate needles. No.
Yeah. He's like, I don't know, he hates needle. He's trying to, he just said he doesn't know Spider-Man, and yet he's trying to cover for Spider-Man.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
what? Huh?
Yeah. It's bizarre. It really is. Again, while this is happening, the security people are kind of like halfway chasing Gwen, but not really. She's like dodging them around corners, and you know, if they really wanted her,
It's another
dead. They could have.
If I can make the comparison again, like with the Electro scene, it's another scene that evokes the Matrix of when Neo's being chased through the offices by
Matrix
agents.
scene.
It really is the same thing.
Oh my god.
Fucking beautiful.
And so Peter bumps into Gwen and says, like, what are you doing here? It's like, Gwen works here. You know this.
What are you doing here, asshole? Your dad's dead. What are you doing here? Oh, well, both their dads are dead. Anyway,
God.
There's a lot of dead dads.
They quickly hide in a broom closet, and they have a brief conversation about like England and everything, right? They
have a conversation about shit.
They kiss and attempt to exit the building. Gwen gets in an elevator and meets Harry. Harry figures out that this is the Gwen who is in a relationship with Peter, which is like
not like a whole lot of other people named Gwen out there.
Yeah, there's the one Gwen in New York City. You know, Gwen.
Yeah, Gwen. The Gwen.
We get an exterior shot of the Ravencroft institution, which got done so dirty in this movie. Where Dylan has been collected and jailed. Not a good place, not a benevolent place.
How does Electro not drown in that pool that he's in?
Because his power can't be contained. Catch up.
He's face down in the water with no oxygen, and he's fucking just sitting there.
Yeah, because
Dr. Kafka's just in the corner, like, don't worry, his power cannot be contained.
Yeah, that's like a fucking. I know Dr. Kafka is an actual character from the comics. I had to look that up last night.
Yeah.
But it's
right.
I don't know. He's like some evil German mad scientist thrown into this movie for no reason.
Yeah, I want to say he's
in the comics. Isn't Dr. Kafka a female? Isn't Dr. Kafka a woman in the comics?
I'm looking it up right now.
Probably in at least one iteration.
It is a woman, yeah.
There you go.
Well, not in this movie. It's got to be a scary man.
You gotta have a scary man.
Got to have one scary man per Spider-Man movie. After a few attempts to assess the limit of his powers, Dylan christens himself Electro.
Such a dumb name.
We get a scheming Oscorp executive who it's the same guy that's been fucking with Harry this whole time. That doesn't like him.
The evil corporate bad guy.
He commands that this shut down, and Electro's placed back in the neutralizing water chamber.
Why does shocking Electro hurt him if he's made of electricity?
Why does slapping you with a steak hurt if you're made of meat, man?
What?
Shit, you got me there.
If I walked right up to you and slapped you with a T-bone, it would hurt, even though you're made of meat.
That's right. Yeah.
This is a weird simile. I'm just gonna.
Electro's power can't be contained. What can I tell you?
This is how the podcast works. Electro's power can't be contained.
Back at Peter.
Moving on. Electro's power cannot be contained.
Back at Peter's house, Aunt May is sitting in the midst of Peter's little crazy person web about his parents.
It's fucking it's like the scene in Always Sunny when he's got all the fucking shit labeled up for Pepe Sylvia.
Hey, Carol!
Dick Parker! Every box is full of Dick Parker.
No Dick Parker, Peter. After all these years, he's finally like, tell me the truth. And she's like, okay, I'm going to tell you the truth. She begins to ramble about how he was dropped off with no explanation. how frustrated she was with everything, and the fact that like government agents came around and called Dick Parker a traitor. It didn't make sense to anybody.
And the best part about this scene, I remember when I watched the scene in February where Aunt May gives her like speech about how like you're my boy. I liked that scene when I watched it the first time, but now looking back at it, watching it again, it sucks. It sucks. It's written really weirdly, and it doesn't serve any relevance to the plot or Peter's character arc, if you can even say Peter has a character arc in this movie.
No.
And all it does is just make us think that his parents are bad, and then like 15 minutes later, it's revealed they were good. Fuck this movie.
What this scene serves to do is remind you that Aunt May and Peter have a great relationship, and remind you that you can view that in any other medium, but not this movie.
Exactly. There you go. That's about the perfect summation of that entire scene. Just because the whole purpose of that scene is antithetical to like all other Aunt May scenes in all media, because Aunt May's the one espousing advice, giving wisdom to Peter. And in this one, it's like Aunt May like constantly needs reassurance that she's the one parental figure that Peter can look up to. It's like Aunt May in this movie, Sally Field really needs to see a therapist.
Yeah,
and I hope she finds one.
For sure. She's gonna snap.
And like they get everybody wrong in this movie. It's like it's machine gun fire. They're fucking up everybody's character arcs.
The Amazing Spider-Man. May also mentions that Richard had a very normal routine of taking the D train to work every morning at 7 a.m. and coming home at 6 p.m. Which I hope he's getting some fucking salary for an 11-hour day with commute. That's some shit for science. All for spiders.
All for spiders.
We cutting into Harry's house, and he looks like Dane DeHaan, but he looks rough. Spider-Man drops in to explain, hey, I'm not going to give you my blood. It could have deadly side effects, because I'm Spider-Man. Harry doesn't really seem to care all that much. He wants the blood no matter like what the cost. It's very one-dimensional. He feels like Charles Lee Ray, like, give me the power. You know what I mean? I need it.
Yeah. The motives behind Peter and Harry are like so like weird and half-baked. Like you could theoretically, like in your head, string together like, okay, Harry really wants Spider-Man's blood like right now, just because you could, even though it's not explicitly stated in the dialogue, you could like surmise that maybe Harry just wants to run some tests. Maybe he wants to figure it out on his own. Maybe he wants to, find out if the blood is like the be all end all or not, or anything like that. But none of that is explicitly stated in the dialogue shared between Harry and Spider-Man. So it just sounds like, no, dude, I want your blood in me right now. Right now, let's go. I've got the needle and everything.
And you could make the argument that Peter is like, and like they could have rewritten it. I know we want to talk about we didn't want to talk about trying to rewrite this movie, but you could rewrite it as Peter doesn't want to give the blood because he's afraid that they might do like DNA testing and like it reveals who he is. Like that.
That's also another thing that I thought of.
That could work. That could definitely work, but they're just like, no.
Yeah, what I think
he's like, no, I don't wanna. Leave me alone.
If Harry was really as crazy as he's supposed to be at this point, and B, if he really wanted that blood, all it takes is pulling a surprise gun on Spider-Man and shooting until he like grazes him. And oh, look at that, you've got Spider-Man blood all over your couch. You know what I mean? What is he gonna do? Call the cops? Hey, it's me, Spider-Man, that guy you hate. This guy tried to shoot me. Like, just go full Osborn with it, Harry.
I fucking hate this movie.
Anyway,
I think I wrote in my notes that I think is a good thing to bring up here. Like, I was thinking about saving it for the end, but maybe I should bring it up here. Like the entire time I was writing notes on this movie, I thought to myself, I need to police my own tone here, because I don't want to come off in this podcast sounding like Cinema Sins or the Nostalgia Critic.
Yeah.
Where I'm just like, oh, they should have done this. But then it like occurred to me that every one of those half-baked, like jokey, satirical, like criticisms they have, they're barely functioning criticisms. that either one of those properties have can land on this movie with precision.
Mm-hmm.
Like the fact that you could have like these criticisms of a movie that are everyone knows that they're just not, it's not good film criticism. It's not good. But because this movie is so half-baked itself, everything lands.
It just works.
It just works.
It just works. The Nostalgia Critic's not a sex offender, but he really sucks. So just an asterisk on the list.
Asterisk.
You know, yeah, just an asterisk. We don't need to add to the tally.
Yeah, like you can, like it's hard to like CinemaSins dock points for like really stupid reasons for a movie like Spider-Man 2 or like Homecoming, because those are like good movies. But with this, because it's so like completely like corporate bullshit, it's like I don't fucking care. Who gives a shit?
It's fractured at the foundational level because every area of production, from like, you know, the executives at Sony to the acting choices to the music choices to the character design, everything has a flaw in it, and it's very apparent.
And I guess I would talk about this later on when we do our personal feelings about the movie, but like I don't even give a shit. There are lots of people out there who like these movies, this one and the second one, and I have nothing but the utmost respect for them, because I can absolutely understand loving this movie and then just having a bunch of assholes like us coming around and shitting on it. But if you like these movies and you find something that really captures you, and then that's great. I'm really happy for you. It just didn't do anything for me.
Yeah, or
I'll kind of espouse like my feelings on it a little bit later too.
Yeah.
Like as far as my feelings on the movie, because I'm not 100% negative on the movie, but I will say just for right now, before we get to the end, that I do feel a whole lot of negativity against the people who on YouTube on the scene with the Gone, the Philip Phillips scene, who go, this scene is such an emotional moment, like down in the comments. I do hate those people. I just want to make that clear.
I do. If you like the Gone scene, you're irredeemable trash. I hate you.
That's where I draw the line.
You're done.
Oh my god.
My power cannot be
both
defended.
so valid. You're so valid.
No more movies for you.
So Spider-Man abandons Harry here. He says, fuck you, you get no blood, and he runs out. He actually stays on the ledge and listens behind for a minute to Harry going, oh, Spider-Man, you're a fraud, and flipping tables.
You're a fraud, Spider-Man!
DeHaan's Oscar scene, I guess. From here,
it's very clearly like ADR'd. It's not even.
I fucking love that line. You're a fraud, Spidey. He throws the table over. It's so funny.
He's so mad. Oscar scene for real. Best freak out. Despite
MTV Movie Award Best Freak Out.
Best freak out.
Dane DeHaan and the Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Thank you.
You're a fraud.
I'd love to accept this award. I'm Dane DeHaan. Anyway, Gwen is heading to her scholarship interview, which Peter interrupts and says a bunch of really dumb, embarrassing, stupid stuff. And
Peter's such a fucking selfish prick in this movie.
Yeah,
he really is.
He's so out of character.
One compliment I'll give this movie. This movie did get one genuine laugh out of me. One intentional, genuine laugh. And that is when that scene begins and Gwen's walking down like an alleyway. And Peter
just swings in and hits the wall.
Hits the wall. That part, genuinely hilarious.
That is really funny.
I'm really bummed to say I don't remember that part.
Yeah, like Gwen is like walking down the street trying to walk into the building where the Oxford interview is, and Peter's like, whoa, and he fucking swings right into the wall. It's really funny.
How sad.
And then just immediately composes.
That sucks. Peter, he goes home, his heart broken, despite wishing Gwen luck at the interview. He takes his frustration out on his crazy person web. Most people take those things down when they have like a breakthrough or clarity, or they solve whatever they're going through. He's just having a bad day, so he fucking ripped to shreds. He throws. What does he throw that Richard owned? Was it
a calculator?
It's like a Texas Instruments, like a TI-80 calculator.
Calculator is full of Subway tokens.
It's filled with Spanish gold doubloons.
doubloons.
Which is a running theme in any Spider-Man too.
The gold doubloons, they're fucking everywhere.
There's the gold doubloons in Spider-Man 2, there's these, and then in Spider-Man 2 MCU, he goes to Europe, which has Spain. So it all
Which
works.
has Spain, exactly.
Spain.
It's all connected. That's what's going to be in the third Spider. That's how they're going to get to the multiverse. Is the gold doubloons.
They're the tokens that you
They're
have
the
to
tokens.
The gold doubloons power cannot be contained.
They can't be contained.
This causes Peter to remember what May said about Richard taking the D train regularly, which prompts him to like investigate that area, the D train Roosevelt thing.
I love that scene because the first thing he does is he just Googles Roosevelt.
Yeah,
just Roosevelt. No additions or anything. He just Googles Roosevelt.
He's a scientist, not a historian, Lex. We can't all have
And he's like
big history brain like you.
He's like, President Roosevelt.
He invented.
It's so funny.
Was he the one that got stuck in the bathtub? That he doesn't know this.
He's the one that like served 2 terms, but like not consecutively. So he had like a gap year.
Gets confused with like really obscure presidents.
No, the emancipation.
He's the guy with like the stovetop hat and like the weird beard, right?
He was the one who died of pneumonia after that speech he gave. Yeah, he was that one.
Roosevelt, is that Washington? George Washington? Is that the guy?
George Washington Roosevelt.
He after Googling all of these terms separately and then together, like you do, he learns about the secret subway station along the D line that was used to transport the sickly President Roosevelt. Roosevelt also being the
handle
of the person or entity that Richard was trying to send data to at the beginning. So, mystery. Unless it was actually President Roosevelt, who was very dead.
He has a secret data server hidden inside of Roosevelt's grave.
You can run Doom on it. Back at Oscorp, Harry is in a drunken fit, which is always like appropriate for the character, I guess.
Of course.
He is
Felicia's there.
He's now sure that his fate is sealed because the spiders were destroyed, but
even though he's got like 30 years until he dies.
Yeah, these next 30 years are going to be full of nothing but money and drugs and women, and I'm going to hate it. And I'm going to turn into a goblin at the very end. But just the very end. Like, okay, maybe you'll get over it, dude.
Maybe you'll get over it.
Maybe you'll be in Valerian.
It's no less deadly than the common cold.
You won't like.
Felicia just comes in and is like, dude, it's just allergies. Get over it.
Felicia, no, just straight up comes in and is like, we have spider venom. Actually, by the
way.
Yes,
I overheard this conversation. They have spider venom in their secret wing.
We kept a bucket of it on standby.
Deus Ex Felicia.
Okay. From there, why is Felicia Hardy in this movie?
I don't know.
No idea.
I don't know why they made Felicia Hardy Norman Osborn's secretary.
They just didn't care.
If you try to examine the minutia of like why they did X to Y character at any given point in this movie, you're just gonna go down a rabbit hole that you'll never emerge from. It's best to just take it at face value.
Gives a shit.
Take it on the chin and just like absorb the pain like Keanu Reeves
in the Matrix.
Just keep going in the Matrix.
Alex, I know you talked about Black Cat. What is your immediate hot take on Felicity Jones as Black Cat?
I like Felicity Jones as an actress. I think she has the range, but I don't think she looks anything like the Black Cat like I picture in my head.
Do you have a Black Cat in mind?
Not really. You know I love my alternate casting.
Of course.
If you pressed me about it, geez, I really am not up to date on my modern actresses. It doesn't help that no movies happened this year. It would have to be somebody with like physicality that I believe could like do a flip. She doesn't necessarily have to be like the giant boobied weird thing that she is in a lot of like older
weird thing.
It's bizarre. She's a inherently semi-sexual character, but there's some weird ass art of Black Cat that just does not make any sense. And that's with Spider-Man proportions and art I'm talking about too.
Yeah.
But regardless of that, it would have to be in the same sense that, I buy all the actors that play Spider-Man because I buy them as having the physicality of being able to perform like Spider-Man-esque stunts. I don't know. My list of actresses, it drops even further from actresses to actresses that can do a flip, and I would believe because you know what I mean. So
actresses that could do a flip.
Maybe if you press me next week, I might have an answer. But damn, that is something to think on because they'd have to do it right someday.
Maybe. Anyway, sorry, we're getting off track.
Yeah, we absolutely are, but that's fine. This movie has no track. We have to.
I'd already know this episode's going to be really fucking long, so who gives a shit?
It's all good.
Yeah,
we're in the third act now. I'd say
we're getting near it.
Now that Harry is freaking out. Harry is accessing those files on his computer, and he gets set up. As a matter of fact, he watches the Electro footage just as the Minkin dude bursts into his office, and he's like, "Hey, this guy, he covered up Electro. Kill him, fire him, get him out of here."
Yeah, he gives like a cartoon supervillain speech. He's like, "You little wretch, you'll die alone, and nobody will care about you." It's like, what the fuck is this? A Captain Planet villain?
Yeah, no, it's very much.
Oh
my god.
At this time, Peter is in the subway tunnels looking for his dad's lab. He discovers the Roosevelt station and activates a switch with a token.
Yeah, he's not even looking for his lab. He's just looking for something there.
And he finds it. Gradually, there's a big CGI thing, and the tracks open up to reveal a subterranean lab car that
secret underground train in a Spider-Man movie.
Yep, and all of his dad's research is still there. Just there.
Presumably that train's been underground for years and years, and yet nothing inside the train has dust or cobwebs on it.
It's New York City, baby.
Nobody has noticed it. It's just
it's all good. It's just there. It's the plot.
Don't worry about it. It's computers.
You gotta get ready for the worst part of the movie.
Oh, buddy. Richard Parker, he recorded that video all those years ago. The file download when all that occurred. Richard's video explains that Norman's nefarious deeds. Well, he was up to shady shit. Norman was wanting to warfare with the spiders, even though they were a healing thing. It's not explained very well.
He wanted to do like weird evil military shit with just genetic cross species genetics in general, I guess. Okay. I don't know.
He wanted a goblin army, I guess. But Richard was like, "Oh, that sounds weird and kind of fascist. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to let you make spider people or anything like that." So, is this the part where Peter gets to see the video?
Yes.
Yeah, where his dad says, "Peter, you're the most important thing to me," which is like, okay, I guess. Now, can we finally move on, please?
But it doesn't matter because there's something else that Norman doesn't know. The human DNA that I implanted in the spiders was my own. Which means that without me, without my bloodline, Oscorp can never replicate or continue my experiments.
Keep electro incubated with 400 milligrams of sodium thiopentate and phenobarbital.
I have destroyed as much as possible from the archives, but I didn't have time to kill all of the spiders, so as a scientist, my choice is very clear now. I have to disappear, I have to get as far away from here as I can, but as a father, it means I may not see my boy again, and nothing is as important to me as my son, Peter. Nothing in this world. But I have a responsibility to protect the world from what I've created, and to protect him from what I know Osborn is capable of.
And oh my god, this is the worst part of this movie. It's not like a scene that's horrible or like dialogue that's poorly written. It's just that his dad is like, to make this venom work, I used my own DNA, implying that it would only work as long as my bloodline was still
Mhm.
alive, nothing would be safe. So
Yeah.
basically,
Yeah.
Peter's dad implies in this movie that Peter was destined to become Spider-Man.
If not
Yeah.
that he was destined, that Peter was the only person that could
Who
have
could have become
Spider-Man, which is
I think
I guess
I've seen tons of really having talked about Spider-Man on the internet, I've seen lots of really dumb arguments about this shit.
Oh yeah.
I've seen like truly incredibly extremely online moronic arguments about the MCU movies, about the Raimi movies, blah 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 blah. But no matter what your opinion on any of these is, this scene is probably the most egregious misunderstanding of Spider-Man as a character I've ever seen.
What really strikes me is that the Ultimate Run where Miles Morales was introduced, I want to say was already happening at this point.
Yes.
They do a lot. They say there's only one Spider-Man. They say that multiple times in this movie. And then we get this scene said, no, only Peter could have been Spider-Man. And it's really weird to me that they flipped so hard in getting it 6 years, or maybe even like 4 years from the time of the release of this movie to the whole anyone can wear the mask thing. It's such
because that was the whole point from the fucking beginning.
Fucking 180.
exactly.
That was the whole point from the beginning, was that Spider-Man was supposed to be literally anybody could have been Spider-man.
It'd be interesting for
You could see yourself in Spider-Man's
See yourself in
shoes.
Spider-Man.
if
That's
this
the
was
whole point of it. And so by doing this, they're just like, nah, fuck you. This is awful. I fucking hate this movie.
Yeah, it really does a disservice to it, because if this was some fresh, new, made-up character, sure, make that part of
Sure,
his
who
backstory.
cares?
But this is literally the guy that Spider-Man's like a Joseph Campbell like hero myth figure at this point.
Essentially, yeah.
He's that kind of person. He's a Luke Skywalker. He's a Harry Potter. You know what I mean? He's along that like central line kind of thing.
Yeah, Spider-Man is a character you're supposed to be able to see yourself in.
Absolutely.
And I can, you can
to that. It's
and the movies that come before this and the movies that come after this do great jobs at that, at making Peter Parker a relatable character that you can see yourself in. But these movies are just like, no.
No.
I also think that comes back around to the approach that the filmmakers took to film it, going back to the point where there's two scenes in this movie where audiences are behind barriers just watching Spider-Man do things. I think that's literally supposed to be a surrogate for the audience at home watching. You are not Spider-Man. You are not living through his experiences in this story.
And
you're just sitting on the sidelines absorbing it.
That's a really good way of putting it.
Absolutely. I agree.
And there's like that kid at the end who like was dressed up as Spider-Man, and I guess that's supposed to be like, oh hey, look, anybody could be Spider-Man, and then the real Spider-Man just shows up and he's like, yeah, I'm Spider-Man, woo!
No, get out of here, kid.
Yeah,
only me.
It could be Spider-Man. All right, you get behind the barrier again. Okay, they got hot dogs back there. Don't worry about it.
They got hot dogs. They got gabagool.
I fucking hate this movie.
Oh, I know. We all do.
This is the point I wanted us to get to. Just the raw,
God, it's
rage.
Awful.
While Peter is having his little "my daddy loves me" moment with the laptop, Harry is at Ravencroft and he breaks in to meet with Electro. Somehow he's got like ninja Solid Snake abilities and steals a taser from a guard and tases two guards. Don't know what boarding school taught him that.
Yeah, Dane DeHaan, who looks like he's maybe 50 pounds soaking wet, takes down two armed security guards really quickly. It's like, what the fuck?
That are guarding a serious military grade, like fucking scientific asset, like King Kong level threat.
Jesus Christ.
Taser. This like heroin addict looking guy takes him out.
Alex, you remember in the last episode when I talked about how like we got to Spider-Man going like to the sewer layer, and I was just like, I'm completely checked out of the movie by this point. This is I'm officially checked out of this movie now.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're at like I'd say we're 80% done. If I had to
yeah, we're nearly done
somewhere. But this last 20%, oh boy. Oh, it's like when you're eating a sandwich and you don't like it, but you know you're gonna finish it.
Yeah, it's like when you get to the very end of a hot dog. And like,
well, it's filling, whatever.
So
this is the movie This is the movie equivalent of the pretzel dog at Sonic. There you go. That's my review.
Hot Dog Water, the movie.
Harry races through Ravencroft, activating a fire alarm just to, further, get...
He dresses up in scrubs like he's playing fucking Hitman.
Yeah, it's Hitman 5, the next movie, coming out next month, starring Dane DeHaan as Agent 47. Sure, why not? Zack Snyder presents.
Zack Snyder presents.
Harry, he takes off the disguise and enters the chamber where Elektra is being held. He ends Elektra's sedation and bargains with him to take Oscorp down for him because he needs him. And Elektra says like 7 times, like, "You need me? You need me?
You need me?
You, Harry Osborn, need me, Electro?"
Dane DeHaan, not a good actor in this movie, but his acting in this scene in particular makes me laugh because he's just like, "I need you, Max. I need you.
I need you."
He's like one step away from being like, "Max, I love you."
Dane DeHaan is literally only famous because he kind of looks like David Bowie.
Dane DeHaan looks like I think I saw this in a Tumblr post a while ago, but it's like he looks like he's like an 18th century dandy who has like fucking tuberculosis.
Yeah, he looks sick.
He looks sickly all the time.
In the same way that like Timothy Chalamet looks like a haunted ventriloquist puppet.
Yeah,
Dane DeHaan looks like an anime OC version of Gollum.
Yeah,
that's good.
That is good.
Alex, I've talked about in my head fan cast.
Oh yes,
I would probably have Timothy Chalamet be Harry Osborn because it would work.
No, absolutely. I completely. Oh, it'd have to be the right Norman is the thing. He was in that movie with Steve Carell about drug addiction. How about Steve Carell as Norman?
Oh yeah,
with Chalamet as his Harry. Fuck. I mean, why not?
The difference is that Chalamet is a good actor.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see Dune, baby. Let's make it happen.
Dune time, baby.
Dune, when
get that vaccine in me so I can go see Dune in theaters.
Please, for the love of
God. Get the Dune drug in me.
Get the Dune vaccine.
I want Christopher Nolan to come kill me in my own bed because I saw it on HBO Max and he found out about it. That guy is pissed.
Fucking Nolan.
I meant to say Villeneuve. Goddamn, they're both pissed. Villeneuve,
whatever,
making it, but they're both furious.
Yeah,
I got my artistes mixed up.
my artistes.
My Kino man.
Jesus.
Anyway, at the end of all this, Electro exacts revenge on Dr. Kafka by putting him in the science tank before escaping with Harry.
Yeah, he breaks out, and he has shorts on now.
Yeah, he's got some cool shorts.
He just materializes the
iconic
shorts.
Peter,
the iconic shorts,
his iconic booty shorts that say "juicy" on the back.
The titular shorts
on the left and right cheek. Peter is leaving the subway station now and receives a voicemail from Gwen. She has been accepted to Oxford and is already heading to the airport to avoid a face-to-face goodbye. And we get Peter in some frankly hilarious New York streetwear coming out of this tunnel, making the Peter face.
I've realized now that Gwen has like nothing to do in this movie.
No, nothing. She had nothing to do but be smarter than Peter.
Like in the last movie, like she played an instrumental role in the third act, and it was good. It was good writing. But then now it's just like her whole point is just to argue with Peter and then go to Oxford.
Gwen's only purpose in this movie is to die.
Yes.
Just get us to the point. Just hurry up. Come on. Time's wasting. Get him. Kill Gwen Stacy. Come on.
They could have done something interesting, like have her live and have her be Peter's romantic partner for the series. And that would have been interesting. That would have been nice. But no.
It would have subverted audiences' expectations of that character.
Exactly.
Like, especially up to that point where she's literally in the suit that she dies in the comics and she keeps bringing up life and death for some reason. I don't know.
It would have been an interesting use of a character. Like if they had her in the outfit and they had her fall and then she lived, it'd be like, whoa! But no.
Yeah, no that would have been interesting, which is why they didn't do it.
That would have been interesting.
Honestly, it doesn't even matter.
We chose not to be interesting as a goof.
Because we're Sony.
It doesn't even matter that she died in this one because it went nowhere. It all would have been for nothing either way. I'm not.
It's all fixed by the end of the movie.
At Oscorp, Electro kills Minkin's security guard before Harry comes in and forces Minkin to grant him access to special projects. I always love that somehow Harry Osborn is winding up as the head of special projects in Spider-Man 2.
Electro has a funny rubber suit now.
Yeah, he's wearing the funny suit.
It's got lightning bolts on the arm.
That's his iconic lightning bolts.
Yeah, it has little lightning bolts on the arm. Like, just make it green and yellow. Just like put some effort in.
You were cute with the cake reference, but do it. Just come on.
God.
Electro...
That cake was green and yellow, wasn't it? Huh?
Yeah, it was. I caught that.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was a fun little.
Put more effort into the fucking cake than the actual costume.
Electro dashes off to reclaim his stolen power grid design to cripple the city. Meanwhile, down in special projects, Harry has Minkin inject him at gunpoint with the spider venom cure, which sets off a painful transformation into the Green Goblin.
He becomes the little Goblin Man. I also like. We're gonna see this later in the I think at the end of this movie, because there's not a post-credit scene in this movie. But this is the Sinister Six room. This is just where they have all the Sinister Six shit, like Vulture's wings and Dr. Octopus's arms.
Where they hang out.
Rhino's suit. It's all made by Oscorp, which is like such a weird decision to make.
The guys that made Transformers made this, man. You can't really.
And like I've said before in the past, Sony are really like super adamant about making a Sinister Six movie, but like let's just all connect them to Oscorp is a weird thing to do.
They've got a giant frozen Megatron down there in the Sinister Six room.
God.
But yeah, Minkin escapes, which I think was interesting. They don't kill that guy off.
Yeah, he just leaves.
The bad corporate guy gets away in both this and The Amazing One. The lizard doesn't actually kill the guy. So, what does that tell you? American Psycho always wins. Harry is in extreme pain and looks up to see the special armor from the hard drive video.
Just opens for him.
Yeah, he just crawls towards it, and green lights flash, and it gets in, and it's like, oh shit, man, you're fucked up, and it injects him.
And it dyes his hair, like he's blonde now.
Maybe that was from the goblin juice.
The goblin juice was what dyed his hair, but it's like,
I'll bring it up when the movie gets to like a clear shot when he like there's the first establishing shot of him as the goblin later. But I'll wait to bring up what I was going to bring up.
Of course.
We get a shot of Gwen caught in bridge traffic on the way to the airport. Her taxi driver sees that Spider-Man has webbed a love note on the bridge that draws Gwen out of the cab. He scoops her up, and he carries her off to talk for a while, and he proclaims his love for her again, and they have the quote unquote movie love talk, which I hate.
I love the taxi driver because he's like, "Hey, what are you? I'm sitting here in traffic."
Hey,
such a dumb character.
Be somebody that I don't know.
There's that one shot where Gwen at one point, like when she sees the note and she has that like tearful reaction, and she goes, "Stop the car!" And she's like, "Lady, I'm in traffic right now."
I fucking love that. It's great.
Yeah, it's something. As they're having their love talk, he says, "I'm going to go to England to be with you," which like. Is he just going to be Spider UK? How are they even going to be able to explain this? Like, oh, Spider-Man's in England now, just like Peter. Haha. We don't have time to think about it, though, because the second that happens, Electro, his power can't be contained, you see. And he takes down the city's power grid, enveloping New York in pitch black darkness and severely complicating the air traffic. Gwen says that there's a reset switch at the plant, but if Electro fries that, the city will never get the power back up. She also figures out that Peter can Electro-proof his web shooters by magnetizing them instead of just dumping electricity into them like he seemed to want to be doing over and over and over in his shed or whatever. They acquire some jumper cables from a squad car and magnetize the shit real quick. And on his way out, Peter webs Gwen's hand to the car for safety. Quick little fun fact about that scene. I normally have, tons of trivia. I don't have a lot for this one. She goes, "Peter," at him and covers her mouth. Total accident. She was supposed to say Spider-Man or something, and she
funny.
said Peter.
That's
and
good.
They decided to keep that.
I had a thought about that while I was watching that scene. I was like, that seemed like a genuine reaction.
Like a genuine goof.
One of the shining little glimmers in this turgid.
Just to be like, this movie could have been good. I mean, it probably couldn't have been, but it could have been good.
All right.
It's those little glimmers that make a man dream.
Electro is now like a living field of electricity that is dwarfing whole city blocks. Electro,
He turns into he's a big face on a building.
So suddenly it turns into like the electric mummy.
Oh my god,
where
yeah.
he's just like a face that travels.
I love that he's like God in this movie, but in the comics, he's got like a weed leaf shaped head and fucking this garish costume. Oh my god. His power can't be contained. That's all you can really.
I like the idea. I've seen this in like comics and stuff, but I like the idea of Electro just being like a little shithead. Like he has like all like super powerful electricity abilities, but he just like does really dumb shit with it.
Yeah, I'm gonna rob the bank.
I always think that's really funny. But they just like, no, we're gonna make him a giant monster man.
He challenges Spider-Man to settle their score. This is not how I would have phrased it. The synopsis says, settle their score, setting off a dazzling sequence of Spidey jumping around Electro, grabbing his webbing like a maniac.
A dazzling sequence.
So dazzling.
Yeah, I didn't mention it, but I think the effects in this movie they're all right.
Decidedly better.
It's Weta Digital who did the effects for all
the fuck?
Hobbit movies.
I didn't know that. Yeah. I buy that. They also spent a lot of money on it, is the thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
I also do like when he like scrambles up the web like that. That's fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like when they do interesting things with the webs.
The flight that Gwen missed is getting pretty desperate for contact with Grant.
Oh my god, yeah, I forgot. I completely forgot about the plane subplot and the Aunt May and the hospital subplot.
Yep.
Electro's field is like affecting instruments are all around the city, so all the flights trying to take off and trying to land are all fucked up.
There was two planes that are gonna fly right into each other.
Yeah. Here's the thing.
It's called.
Here's the thing that struck me about that scene, because this is specifically on two planes in that area that are about to collide. But New York City has both LaGuardia and JFK there. That should be happening like in multiple situations. There should be planes like about to collide with one another like 7 times over.
Yeah, well, here's one of them, but the other 6 didn't make it.
I think the better idea is just to not have this dumbass micro subplot in the movie at all.
I agree.
That's the obvious solution.
And then like May in the hospital where like the lights shut off and just like, I don't know, I'll go help out. And then it's literally only in like 2 5-second scenes. What is the purpose of it?
It's the only struggle. Well, as previously stated, Electro's power cannot be
contained.
Just try. Just fucking try. Spidey,
go ahead.
Spidey
try it.
I'd like to see you try.
Spider-Man tries to short circuit Electro, but he's grown too powerful. They trade punches, and Electro literally spits electricity onto his head.
It's so fucking stupid.
Can you play the soundbite of that if you're able to?
I will.
Thankfully, Gwen's magnetizing trick works, allowing Peter to toss Electro into the power grid and breathe for a minute. Electro comes back in like literally just seconds later because all he did was get thrown, and starts beating the shit out of Peter again. As he bounces between the grid towers, he's casting all kinds of bolts at him like a fucked up wizard.
Is this where the itsy bitsy spider thing is?
Yes, it is.
Oh my god.
Haha. Isn't it funny?
I hate this song.
That joke could be funny if it like didn't make me want to claw my eyes out.
It's funny as a comic bubble. It's not funny in a movie.
No,
They're two different things.
The thing that makes it even harder to swallow is that they did this joke but better in the very first Raimi movie.
Yeah,
they did it better by
Goblins.
virtue of just having Willem Dafoe say it like a fucking crazy person.
absolutely.
There you go.
I don't even think of that scene when I see this scene. It's that disconnected. It's the same song,
yeah,
but
it's like it's such low hanging fruit. It's like, come on.
Yep.
absolutely. Spider-Man is losing pretty bad. He's just kind of on the ropes until Gwen runs over Electro with a cup.
With a car.
That's
Oh my god.
does. She insists on staying until they work out a plan to defeat Electro because she's Gwen and she's smart and she's smart Gwen.
I designed the power grid. I know what I'm doing.
Everyone in this movie is just like that. Spider-Man.
No. The thing that stood out to me in watching that, where she's like, almost like subtextually like telling Peter like, it's my choice. I'm the one who chose to come here, and it's like she's already like shifting the blame on
him Peter of the guilt.
Exactly, like preemptively, just like, it's not your fault, Peter. It's my decision. I'm here. I'm doing this.
I'm gonna die.
You always have to live, and you live life once, and you always live it.
live the ballless life.
What would you like to do?
Live the ballless life. You only live once, Peter. YOLO. It's just like, hey, hot dog, you know?
Hey, I got a briefcase full of junk.
Give me a 99-cent slice over here.
Oh my god.
This movie sucks.
Yeah.
This movie fucking sucks.
This movie sucks.
Oh my god.
There's another impressive fight sequence after Spider-Man decides to distract him and Gwen will go to reset the system. Cool spider sense sequence. It's always nice to see that remembered and utilized.
Yeah.
Spider-Man ends up creating a web to channel Electro's energy and gives Gwen the cue to flip the switch. The blast restores the city's power and seemingly destroys Electro.
Yeah, Electro is just fucking dead. They fucking obliterate him.
Explodes. He's just exploded. It's fine.
Explodes. They explode. He just murders Electro in this movie.
So much Electro.
Well, it's been previously stated multiple times that Electro's power cannot be contained. So what do you do with power that can't be contained?
It can't be created.
You have to eliminate that power.
You have to overload the power.
And
yeah,
that's it for Max Dillon. He doesn't learn anything. He doesn't grow. He just has a psychotic breakdown, and that's it.
Yeah, just throw it on the pile of shit this movie does. That's really dumb. Let's have Peter murder the bad guy.
They can't all be Alfred Molinas, and they can't all be Thomas Hayden Churches, but they're gonna try. So Electro is dead. Their stored power makes the plane collision not happen, and everything seems fine.
And the hospital is powered. Oh, thank God.
Yeah. Oh, Aunt May's fine.
Yay.
God, we were so worried.
And the movie's over. Good night, everybody.
I feel like this movie has given me the flu. I feel ill.
Oh, you'll feel a lot better when you hear Dane DeHaan fly in on a glider and go, ha ha ha.
Oh my God, I forgot he does that laugh.
He does a Green Goblin laugh.
Oh yeah.
All right.
He flies in.
Let's talk about this costume.
Let's talk about this.
He looks like Master Chief with no helmet from neck to foot, and he looks like he's riding a Dark Souls weapon.
He looks like a crackhead with the costume that the girl is wearing in Spy Kids 3 with the claw hand.
Yeah, yeah.
This is where I have the note that I wanted to bring up, because I only wrote one note for this entire introductory scene. The Green Goblin appears on screen. I wrote, Dane DeHaan has Mo Sislak disease.
Oh my God.
He does.
Dane DeHaan looks like Mo.
He does. He looks like Dennis Reynolds on Always Sunny when he's like in the middle of a screaming match or something. He looks ill.
Oh my God.
Not I have goblin disease ill. He looks like I don't even know how to describe it. It's awful. It's
Yeah,
not
this is a joke that I'm gonna steal from Cosmonaut Variety Hour. Did a really good video on these movies. But like an observation, I mean, not a joke. Like he looks at Harry, like he looks at Peter, then he turns and he looks at Gwen, and then he's like, "Oh, maybe I don't look as cool as I think I did." It's like, oh, okay.
Oh, they can
Alright.
tell I'm
He
a
looks like-
diseased freak.
He looks like he's got like the same disease that the Penguin had in that one Tim Burton Batman Returns.
He really does look like Gollum. He looks like Gollum.
He's just got ichthyosis.
He's got Cobblepot mouth.
Yeah, he looks like Gollum when he's like in between becoming he's in between from Smeagol to Gollum. He's like in that
That's
weird
what
in
really
between
happened to
phase.
Gollum.
That's what he looks like.
Gollum injected himself.
What if he just pulled out a fish and bit into it?
Check this out, Spider-Man.
God.
Harry decides, once he figures out that Peter is Spider-Man, he decides to hurt Peter by harming Gwen, he says. He picks her up in his glider and flies off.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention the costume. The costume isn't even green.
No, he's not a green goblin. He's like the gray goblin.
The Gray Goblin.
They do the really obvious joke of him saying, "Put her down," and he goes, "Okay," and drops her. And that's not where she dies, though. They do like a fake out from there. Peter jumps to save her, and then they drop a pumpkin bomb down there, and it explodes.
The one time we see a pumpkin bomb.
The dice roll is low, and it doesn't kill them. It just fucks up the clock tower. There's a really fast
Oh my god,
fight.
something just occurred to me.
What's that?
This movie begins with gears. This movie ends with gears.
Yeah, that's what it's for. That's why it opens like that.
God
Gears of War.
damn it.
The Gears of
This movie sucks.
This movie sucks.
Gwen
Oh.
falls, and Peter webs her and stops her descent. Harry jumps on him and pins him to a
He's
clock.
like, "Yeah, I'm gonna fucking kill you."
The mechanism moves and cuts the web and drops Gwen again. The wheel, this is all so fucking.
It happens so quickly. The Peter and Goblin fight is so
happens
fast.
quickly, but the same
Yes.
thing happens like 3 times where she falls and you're like, "This is it," and it doesn't happen. And
like,
she
they,
falls again.
like they kill Electro, and then they're like, the writers are like writing this, they're like, all right, yeah, and then we transition. They're like, oh shit, we forgot about Harry, and we got to kill Gwen too. So they write this like really fast scene.
And even then, like, I totally get that, and I disagree that it. I agree with you, and I agree that it should not have been written this way. But also, I'm looking at this one paragraph, and in one paragraph, it goes dropping her from his glider, and then just a few words later, Gwen falls, and then just a few more words later, Gwen falls again, and it's like that's all the movie is. Gwen falls again.
Oh my god!
It's the writers forgot to combine the emotional climax of the movie with the action climax of the movie. So you have one happen before the other. You've already had the action climax happen in the movie with Electro, that whole fight.
Climax.
Yeah, it's like they just forgot to add it into that scene, so they just tacked it on to the end.
Well, the thing happens. The clock damage takes out Harry, and Peter does some Spider-Man ducking and weaving through the wreckage to save Gwen.
Oh, shoots the web and it looks like a hand. Fuck you.
Yeah, that
really
took me out of the moment.
Fuck you.
Really stupid. The impact. It's a combination of it being a little too late, but it also like it does grab her.
Yeah, it's the whiplash.
Head
Yeah.
into the ground. It's a good mimic of the comic. Yeah, a lot of it is like panel recreation, but the whole thing is different and it's weird.
Yeah, I just don't feel anything. I just feel emotionless.
I made me remember the comic version and made me sad, and made me remember Spider-Man Blue, which made me really sad.
It made me remember Spider-Man Blue. They do it really well in Marvels. Like those scenes are really good. It's like, oh yeah, this is a really emotional scene. But when you watch this movie, you don't feel anything.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
You just sat through 2 movies of these 2 characters interacting. By this point, you should feel something at this point, and you are just emotionless.
Yes, Gwen Stacy is dead. It happened. The thing. Peter holds the body for a while and does some serious acting, some stay with me. So yeah,
I don't care.
But it's better than I've always thought the comic soliloquy he like says out loud is stupid after Gwen dies.
It is kind of dumb, but I guess that's just because Stan Lee is a very theatrical guy.
Yeah, let me see.
Actually, Stan Lee didn't write that. Jerry Conway did.
True. God, I'm trying to remember specifically what he says, but the image I pulled up is so.
He's like, "You killed the woman I love, Goblin."
Like so.
Yeah, my favorite part is that Goblin calls him a romantic fool. It's so funny.
You're going.
Shout out to the big boy Jerry Conway. I think he was like 17 when he wrote that story, which is just a true boss move.
Wow,
he was like a kid.
Wow,
good lord, that is impressive.
It has staying power, I guess. We cut like directly to the funeral. We don't get there was a scene filmed of Harry getting his ass beat by Spider-Man post Gwen death, like him just beating the shit out of him. But they cut it because this movie was riding the PG-13 line in a few too many places for their liking. An R-rated cut of this would have been hilarious.
Sorry, Jerry Conway was like 20 or 21 when he wrote Night Gwen Stacy died.
Still impressive.
Bizarre.
Still impressive.
We cut right to the funeral. Mrs. Stacy is now a widow, and also her oldest child is dead. So Peter really has just fucked up this poor woman's life, and we'll never dwell on her.
No,
fuck Mrs. Stacy.
I've always thought that you could tell a really interesting story with Gwen's mom, but they just never do anything with it.
Ever. Well, write it. Submit it to Marvel. Make your money, Lex.
Marvel, are you listening?
Do something with Gwen's mom. That'd be really cool. I would like that.
Coming next month, Spider Gwen's mom. What if
Gwen's mom's power cannot be contained?
Peter sits alone at her grave, and we get a montage of like months passing because months are passing. And like, I get that he's an emotional basket case, and his girlfriend died, but like, we just spent 2 full movies talking about how this is his responsibility. And I don't know if I mentioned this, but responsibility. He takes 5 fucking months off. Do you have any idea how pissed I would be if I got mugged in those 5 months and he just decided to come back because the Rhino was around? I would hold him responsible for any and all money I lost in that mugging. Like, Spider-Man, you owe me $40.
Even when Peter stops being Spider-Man in Spider-Man 2, like, I don't think it's that long. Maybe a month?
That's exactly what I was thinking, is maybe a month. Enough time for the little neighbor boy to go, "Hey, Miss Parker, hey, Aunt May lady, where's Spider-Man at? What's he doing? What's up with that?"
And then when Peter goes on vacation in Far From Home, it's probably like 2 weeks, I guess. That's usually like how long those school trips last. So it's like, it's not that bad. But like this, it's like he's gone for almost like half a year. It's like, what the fuck?
How are there not more villains now?
Yeah. Also, in like that 5 months, there isn't anybody that like put together like, where's Spider-Man gone? Well, I mean, he beat Electro that one time, and then he got attacked. Oh, and then that one lady died. Who was that one lady? Oh, that was Gwen Stacy.
Yeah, Peter's girlfriend.
Who did Gwen Stacy had an emotional attachment to?
Oh, Peter Parker. Oh, I think this guy might be Spider-Man.
Hey, Peter, are you Spider-Man? Hey.
Now.
Hey. Like knocking at the door. Hey, Peter, are you Spider-Man?
Hey, Peter, you've been really weird for 5 months. And also, Spider-Man's been gone for 5 months.
Yeah, Peter, the one guy who takes good pictures of Spider-Man for the Bugle. I think he might be Spider-Man.
So we go from there to Ravencroft again, where Harry is now in a cell himself, and we get Mr. Scary Fedora.
Yes, the Fedora Man from the post-credits of the last movie.
Mr.
The Gentleman,
I think his name is.
Fears? Yeah, that's right.
Gustav Fears.
Discusses a plan, and that's it. And nothing happens, and nothing will happen, so don't worry about it.
It's in that scene, like when Gustav Fears goes into the cell and Harry's like looking like normal again. He's just like, it comes and goes in waves. Yeah. That to me, the worst thing that a movie can do is like break your immersion. And the whole time he said that, I was just like, the only reason he doesn't look like the Goblin right now is because they filmed this movie out of order.
Yeah,
this is an earlier scene that they filmed.
I 100% agree. And I make a note that Sony needs to stop ending these fucking standalone whatever movies with oh, here's a guy in a prison cell, like what they did in Venom with carnage.
Yeah, and like the Gustav, the Shadow Man. I'm just gonna call him Shadow Man. Shadow Man. Shadow Man literally only exists to just to be like, hey, he's like Sony, the physical version of Sony. He's like, we're gonna make a movie with Sinister Six. It's gonna be great. It's like fuck hell.
Is it though? Spider-Man is completely grief-stricken, out of action. He's fucked up about all this until we hear God, what happens? I'm trying to
he listens to a recording of Gwen's speech.
That's what it is. Yes, we end the movie exactly how we ended the first movie with Peter.
I wrote that down too. They do the same listen to a recording of a dead person 2 movies in a row.
I forgot. I legitimately feel like they forgot they wrote that into the first movie, and
I wouldn't be surprised.
And they just did it again.
Just do it again.
What happened? They just did it again.
And she's like spotting out, like, well, life is what you make of it. You gotta live. You have responsibilities. With great power comes great life. It's just...
Oh, Gwen's not here to remind us about life anymore.
I want to know to stay alive.
We are at the finish line, my friends.
Jesus Christ! The death march of this movie.
Alexei Syetrovich is busted out of prison, presumably by Oscorp goons, who gave him the Rhino suit, and he's robbed a bank and is rampaging through the city and cutting through cop cars and laying to waste New York City. Science fair kid puts on a Spider-Man suit and runs away from his mom and stands before this man wielding like 50 caliber machine guns.
Yeah, more fucking people gathering around to watch this dangerous criminal.
More people gathering around, including, for some reason, Shailene Woodley, who was supposed to appear as Mary Jane in the movie.
She's there.
It was just, you can see in the background of this one scene, and then she doesn't appear for the rest of the movie.
Spider-Man shows up, swings a manhole cover into the Rhino's face, and that's it. Cut to black. That's the movie.
Jesus. I'm so ready for these movies to be good again.
Yeah,
I'm frothing at the mouth. I'm waiting for these movies to be good again.
We are on the cusp of victory.
You guys are on the cusp of victory. I'm just here for one, and then I'm bouncing. This is the one I showed up for.
I'm sorry I put you in this, but we had to have somebody else to share the load with.
It's okay. I'm happy to.
All right.
I have some trivia, not a tremendous amount.
Yeah, because this episode's also about to be 3 hours long.
Yeah. Emma Stone personally wrote Gwen's graduation speech, which I know we talked about it feeling a little weird and stilted, but that's probably because Emma Stone's not a screenwriter.
You know what? Good for her.
It's fine. It's as good as any of the other ad libs in this movie. It works. Andrew Garfield's heel got ran over by a taxi at one point during production.
Ouchie.
Which I just thought, like, fucking, how did that not completely derail this? But it is what it is.
That's just a typical New York hazard. You just gotta watch out for taxis.
Hey.
He'll learn.
There was going to be, as we mentioned, a Sinister Six movie followed by an Amazing Spider-Man 3 and 4, all confirmed by Sony at various points. However, due to a combination of Marvel Studios, with the Sony deal happening, and a desire to fire Andrew Garfield, they totally collapsed this whole thing.
Yeah, Sony really treated Andrew Garfield like complete shit.
Yeah, nobody won in that relationship. I'm sorry to say.
I mean, I have my hot gamer theories about the next Spider-Man movie. The big thing is that I don't think I think Tom and Andrew are going to show up in the post credits as a tease for the next movie. I don't think they're going to be in the new movie for very long.
No.
But I really do want Andrew to have his moment of being in a good Spider-Man movie.
Yeah,
because he really deserves it.
Give him his Hayden Christensen arc that we want him to have.
He's such a great actor. He really got dealt the short end of the stick here.
Yeah, the short end of the stick. You know what I'm saying?
Briefcase full of junk.
This
Tony Pizza
is the only Spider-Man movie as of yet to be filmed entirely in New York State, and it is the largest movie ever filmed in New York City.
Huh. The largest?
Production-wise. At least at time of this trivia writing, which was anywhere up to 6 years ago. I don't know if they filmed any of like fucking Endgame or anything in New York.
I think it was probably the largest one that was filmed entirely in New York.
Yeah. There we go. That's how
that
makes
sense.
They announced the release date for this only a full 11 months before the release of the first one, so they were really banking on like rolling with this for a bit anyway. I don't know that I would have made that same prediction, but I'm not an executive, so who knows?
Yeah, they really wanted to hurry up and like make their own like competing Marvel universe against like Marvel Studios proper.
Yeah,
but the problem was they forgot to make good movies in the process.
Yeah,
so
but these movies, I'll save that for later.
That's fine. Both Dane DeHaan and James Franco, who have both played Harry Osborn, have also both played James Dean in various biopic feature things.
That's very interesting.
So there's something there. Not sure what, but yeah, as we mentioned earlier, one thing I did have also, I forgot this, but Dr. Kafka was a woman in the comics, but a man in the film. So this truly is a Dudes Rock movie. They made one woman into a man, and the other woman dies. Dudes Rock.
Dudes Rock.
I feel like women dying is antithetical to the Dudes Rock movement.
That sounds right. That seems correct.
I feel like this is a movie that wants to be Dudes Rock, but is floundering in the process.
I do have also a handful of other alternate. Was it Harry's that I have here? I feel like
I don't know. I didn't compile the facts.
I have an alternate Electros here, is what I have. The only two of note that I have are Mads Mikkelsen was considered for Electro, as was Damian Lewis from Band of Brothers. He was in, if you remember him.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he was also in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He played Steve McQueen.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, he was considered for Electro, as well as Mads Mikkelsen.
I would know. Mads Mikkelsen probably no, but Damian Lewis maybe.
He would have amped it up and not in the right way, I think. That's all the trivia I have specifically this time. On these ones that tend to run, I can prune the stuff that isn't that interesting.
Yeah. Other than the biggest thing was probably the Mary Jane stuff, which we talked about.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Let's move on to the ratings and the rankings.
Mm-hmm.
Alex, what did you think about this movie?
Well, I think this movie is. I'm safe. I feel like I'm safe when I'm saying this movie is 90 to 95% stuff I did not care for.
No,
it's just bad meat on bad bones. With that.
It's just bad.
It's a badly made house. It's like if you asked me to build a house. This is the cinematic equivalent of me building you a house. It's not good. It's crooked and it's stilted, and some things look exactly the way they should look, but they don't feel the way they should feel. It is the worst of everything we've watched so far. We are 5 movies in now, 3 Raimis, 2 Amazings.
Yes, this is our 5th movie, or 6th episode.
This is the bottom for me.
Yes, definitely.
My My descending ranking is I still consider 2 the best, then Raimi 1, Raimi 3, amazing, amazing 2. This movie, I believe last week I gave amazing. Did I give that a 2.5?
I think you gave it a 2.5 or a 2. I don't remember.
I'm going to give the amazing just a 1 out of 5.
1 star out of 5. 1 star out of 5. Jesus.
One bag of popcorn, if you will. It's severely disappointing to me. There's so much potential in this movie, and that's really why it gets this low score. Is that maybe with another villain, maybe with another workaround of the script to maybe make Harry even remotely interesting. It's just wasted potential layered, like a 7-layer dip of frowns all the way down. It is just not quality. I do not care for it. I don't think I'll be watching it again, maybe ever. There are a handful of fun moments, fun web slinging and wall crawling moments, quips that elicited a laugh. Borderline nothing relationship wise that made me do anything except remember that the characters I was seeing portrayed were portrayed better in the comics, and it made me want to read a comic. I really don't think I have anything else I can say after 3 hours.
There's not much else to say.
What a fucking movie. What about you, Lex?
Yeah. Maybe not the worst thing I've ever seen. That's probably the Star Wars Holiday Special, because that's just complete junk. But it's certainly the most insulting. Atrocious on just about every level. Bad characters, bad writing, sloppy editing, weird-ass music. It's just completely corporatized bullshit with not even an inkling of care put into the way any of it works. Fuck this movie. Half star. Absolutely at the bottom of the ranking. You don't even need to figure that out. Matt, what are your thoughts on this movie?
Don't like it. Hate it. Hate its guts. Wish it was gone. That said, I don't resent this movie's existence. I think there's potential in every facet of its production. I think the suit is the best suit that they've ever done. I don't think the actors were necessarily miscast, more just misused. I don't think the dialogue they had really supported their, typical actions, at least in other films that I've seen with these same actors. The direction is just kind of like all over the place. I feel like with this movie, it reads to me. I think I brought this up before, like earlier in the episode, like 2 hours ago. But it's a movie that does all it can to take you outside, to make you think about the production. So you're not even immersed in the film that's happening. You're not focused on Spider-Man. You're focusing on all of the surrounding. Like, we sat here and talked for 3 hours solely about the production of this movie, like everything that went wrong. I feel like that is infinitely more interesting than the movie itself. I feel like this movie is kind of weirdly cynical in a way, because watching this, you don't think about, Spider-Man is like a great hero and everything. The only thing that crosses your mind is, wow, Sony really dropped the ball on this one, huh?
Yeah, this is a movie that makes me think of. This is a movie about Sony's desperation. They're racing to catch up to what Marvel is doing, because by this point, they've already done the Avengers. They're on a fucking roll right now. They're racing to catch up because they've got this great character, but they just can't get anywhere with it.
Yeah, this movie came out a month after Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Jesus.
Did it really? God damn.
Yes, the peak of MCU, in my opinion. So the fact that they were still at this point trying to play catch up with a company that was already producing like pretty outstanding movies at this point in like their lineup, that shows to me that Sony did not have their eye on the ball. When I say I don't resent this movie's existence, I think that this movie was a necessary misstep. I think this was a learning experience for Sony. I think the fact that this movie exists helps to kind of show where they were coming from with future iterations of Spider-Man.
Yes.
Doing those better. So with all that said, even though I hate how this movie is structured and I hate what this movie is, I don't dislike it to a point where I can say, this is one of the worst movies ever made, because by virtue of its failure, it ended up being a great stepping stone for something even better to come down the line later.
Very well put.
I still don't like it. If I had to give it a rating, I would say 1.5 stars.
All right.
1.5 stars out of 5. It is the lowest ranking Spider-Man, in my opinion.
Definitely. All right. So,
thanks for bearing with us, brave listener.
Yeah, this is I knew from the start this was gonna be the longest episode we've done. And if you've made it all the way through, we salute you here.
You get the gold star patch.
You get the Spidey Signals No prize. Yeah, that's our show. Thank you so much for listening. If you've got a question or a comment that you want us to read on next week's episode, be sure to send it to us at our email address, spideysignalspodcast@gmail.com, or shoot us a DM on our Twitter, @SpideySignals. Next week, we're going to recap these two movies, and we're going to talk about Captain America Civil War with a special guest. We're doing a back-to-back guest because this is a competently run program. They are a streamer. They're an artist. They're a very good friend of mine. They go by FEARDEER on the internet, but yeah, it's my friend King. So,
Hell yeah, King.
Hell yeah, King. Until then, stay responsible. Bye.
Later.
Good night, folks.
Oh, wait. We didn't name 3 more sex offenders.